Hey, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to what is this? Friday Night Live, right?
Friday Night
I,
Live.
my automatic, I was going to say Soul Citizens, but I've got my days mixed up.
Oh my gosh, man, it's
See?
Friday.
Yes,
It's
right. Kimmy say it's
Friday.
Friday night. It's Friday. Hey, right? No, absolutely. Yeah, it has been a blur of a week. Kimmy and I were just both saying that we both have had a crazy week, and man, it has been busy. It has been busy. But Kimmy, you were
Always good, man.
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd rather, have something to do than nothing to do. But I don't know, this week for me was just kind of I had a client who actually changed their format of work, and it was just kind of a combination of that, and then some personal stuff was going on with my family, and so I was trying to do some healthcare related stuff, and so it was just kind of juggling and rescheduling and all that good stuff. But I was actually looking forward to hanging out with you tonight. This is kind of, even though this is still somewhat work, this is kind of pleasurable work. So it's been kind of cool coming up to this week. Yeah, but Kimmy, we've been off for a little bit. We took our little break during the month of January, and we are back. Coffee, always good to see you. Thanks for dropping in, Coffee. You are always here for us. And man, what have you been up to? I know last time you and I talked, you had been monkeying around a little bit with Xenothreat, right? You've been out there kind of dabbling with that a little bit and had a good time with that.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed myself, and I was kind of shocked, Griff, that as what we were talking about being busy, and you lamented that, man, I didn't get a chance, and I'm looking and like, what? I'm like, yeah, you were busy because if anybody was craving something new to do in Star Citizen, you'd be the advocate for it.
Well, you know something, Kimmy?
You didn't get it in. Yeah.
You know what's funny? Usually I do it on a testing place, right? I'll actually get in PTU and help do tickets and all that stuff. But because I saw what Xenothreat was, this was the one time I said to myself, I don't want to see the preview. I want to see it once it's out. But then but then the family stuff happened, and that pulled my time away completely. And so I did get to go out what I didn't get to do was the cargo stuff. I got to do the stuff with the attack on the Idris, but I didn't get to but I didn't get to do any of the stuff where you went to pull the cargo out of the ships. And because when I did go in, I was by myself, and you know how that is when you're doing that. It's good to do it with a group of people and everything. But I did get to, we had been to Jericho before, though, back when Jericho first got put in, so seeing the Idris and all that stuff was cool. I just didn't get to do the full, from beginning to end. So, but I know you guys had a good time. I came in one night. You were hanging with the cats over at Galactic with Fist to Face and his crew, and you guys were talking about how much money you guys were bringing in. You guys brought in a lot of dough when you guys were out there.
The yields were like ridiculous in regards to doing things on behalf of the UEE, and it sounds really it's a good omen, right? In regards to the military ships, and people say, oh, you're buying all these weapons of war, and how is it going to profit you? The UEE is funding this, man, because they're going to take our tax money and pay those ships.
And pay you out, huh? Pay you out,
and those yields were just coming,
it's
man.
Good payouts.
Like, holy smoke. We're sitting there like, it was a collective payment, It would come across your cockpit.
Right,
say, hey,
right. How much you were making. It was like but it was like you guys were getting paid on the hour, right? Because I was sitting there watching it, and just you'd be sitting there smoking a cigarette, and 2,500 would pop up, or 5,000. So that was cool. No, right, you're absolutely right. And it is nice to know that even though there may be those things that you can generate on your own to make money, that, like you said, missions like that can be things that you can get in groups with, or even by yourself. And UEE's paying you out. And like I said, I heard you say you guys are making up in the millions from when you guys are out there. You guys make good money.
And depending on your efficiency and how they determine if you were a threat or not, they were coming with the big guns. Prior to the Idris, you're going to expect that, but they would come with a variety of ships and waves and droves of just pounding you, and then they'll stop, and then they'll attack you from a different point. And it was just like, this is nice, man. And just to see it all happen in one collective spot with other players, it was really cool.
That's cool. That's very, very cool. And Xenothreat came, and they told us it was going to go, and it came and went. And I saw several people, I think even I want to say Eradicator, I want to say Board Gamer, several of them put out videos saying it was too short. You know, it went too, you know, it disappeared too quickly,
Yeah.
you know, but I'm also sure that was because a lot of people were having fun with it, and probably a lot of people hadn't been in the game. So by the time they heard about it, they only got maybe 1 or 2 days in, and boom, it was gone. So, you know, I'm glad you guys had a good time with it. I'm glad you guys did. And thanks, by the way, to Fist to Face and his group. They had asked if they could post in our channel about people who came, and there were people who joined in to help them. So thank you guys for helping sponsor that event so that folks could participate in it and not have to be out there by themselves. So it was very cool. Scuba Steve, good to see you, buddy. Scuba Steve. And of course, the cart that's fast is here. The fast cart is here as well.
The speedy one.
Yeah, there you
Admiral
go.
Kusanagi, the green eye.
Oh, the Admiral's there.
Man.
Oh, the Admiral.
Crew.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All the Friday night. Go Mab.
Wow.
Go Mab ATL. All right. Everybody's here. Cool.
Nice.
Well, good. Folks, it's good to see you guys. Kimmy and I've got a lot of fun stuff tonight. Just want to kind of give some public service announcements. We want to remind, oh, yeah. Wow, Scuba. Yeah, I know it's easier to hang out. Yeah. Are you down in Texas, Scuba? Because you are, I swear, right? I hope you're doing okay down there, man. Dude, I hope you're all right. I've been trying to keep up with people like Miss Hartz and Paul, and it's kind of funny. Some people are in places where it's not so bad. Other people are in places where they were really getting hit hard. But the fact that you're on here hopefully means that you're not on your cell phone, and that you're doing okay, buddy. H-Town. Yeah, it sucked. Yeah, I know, man. It's I mean, hopefully some lessons learned, because ultimately it's the citizens that end up hurting when it's all said and done, man. So hopefully they'll get it together for you guys down there and things will be okay. But I'm glad you're okay, and good to see you here as well. 07
I reached out to Xylo. They just received power today, so that was good. So they're working on it.
Fist, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by as always. You and Pops. I'm sure Pops is in the background as he always is, hanging out. So
the dynamic duo, man. Star Citizen.
Good to have you here. Real quick, want to fill you guys in. If you remember, last week was our first week back, and we wanted to reiterate the fact that March 7th is our anniversary, our 1-year anniversary, which is just barely 2 weeks away. And we are looking to celebrate in a big way. We've invited all of the Soul team to be here. We're going to reflect on some fun times we've had over the last year, talk about stuff that's coming up, and maybe get to know a little bit more about us in that day. But it'll be our 1st year anniversary, so hopefully you guys will be able to join us. We're also trying to get our followers on Twitch, our follower numbers up a little bit higher. We'd like to see if we can push toward the big 1000. Yeah, that's 3 zeros. 1,000. We are at 796 followers right now, so we've got to get another 204 followers within the next couple weeks. Now, I'm not expecting it to happen over the next couple weeks, but what I am hoping for is that on the day of, that would be the day that we would really drive it and see if we can get close to that number. And if we get to that number, we are going to, hey, what's that? Shanty Crow. Thank you for the Prime subscription.
Shanty Crow.
Thank you. Thank you.
One of my fellow bar citizens there.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome. Thank you.
How are you tonight, bud? Thank you for the sub, man. He said he would stop in tonight.
Very cool. Well, here's the deal. If we can get to that 1,000 guys, we are going to give away either, we haven't figured out yet which one it's going to be, but it'll either be a Banu Merchantman or it will be a Endeavor. Something along those lines. We haven't figured it out, but it's only if we get to 1,000. If we don't get to 1,000, we are going to do some giveaways, and there's still going to be nice giveaways. Probably be some things like vultures and Vulcans and stuff like that. But if we get to 1,000, we're going to do a giveaway on one of those. So mind you, that Endeavor
going for the javelin.
Yeah, right. By the way, let me put my disclaimer in. That Endeavor is a base Endeavor. It is not the master set. It is not the master set. It is the base Endeavor, okay? We will help you get started on your way down the area of science and discovery. We're not going to put you there completely. We are still a very young stream.
You'll have to modulate.
Yes. It'll give you something to work for in game. Absolutely, Kimmy. Absolutely. So that'll be on March 7th, guys. So just so you'll know, usually we do weekly giveaways, but right now we've been kind of building up and saving up for that one. So March 7th will be our anniversary. And again, we want to get to 1,000 followers. So please tell people, ask people. We're not looking for subscriptions and stuff like that. It's not about that. It's really about just see if we can get our followers number on Twitch up to 1,000. By the way, if you're not following us on YouTube or Twitter, please do that as well. I think we have 275 followers on YouTube. And so if you ever want to catch our shows and can't be here on Friday night or Sunday night, you can always check us out there. And we're also on iTunes, and we're also, Thank you for that. What is that, a host?
Thank
you for the host. Thank you, absolutely, thank you for the host. You can also find us on YouTube and SoundCloud as well. So if you're ever riding in your car, or you're working out at the gym, or you're jogging, you can listen to us that way too. So we're all over the place. If you want to hear me and Kimmy talk your ear off, that's the way to do it. Just tune in, okay?
See.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's jump into it, Kimmy, because we've got some fun stuff to do. By the way, music that you hear in the background from New Soul, Fist to Face, and Pops in Space.
Incredible.
The music that they created for us, some real smooth Friday night chill music, which we're definitely digging. So always give out a shout out. Yes, original to the guys. Original at New Soul.
Yes,
New
those
Soul.
guys are incredible, man.
Yep, appreciate you guys, New Soul. We really do.
07.
Okay, so let's hit the big button here and change our screen a little bit so we can see what we need to see. Kimmy, I don't know if you had a chance to do this yet. A lot of you guys know that last week, right before we would call Valentine's Day, the Chinese lunar calendar kicked in, and this year they're celebrating the year of the ram in the game. Of course, it's called the lunar celebration that they do there. They don't call it the Chinese New Year. Right. And so this year, what they did, again, as they did last year, is that these red envelopes that you see on the screen are dispersed throughout the universe. And if you get one and you take it to a trade terminal, you get paid for it. Or you could keep it and give it to someone else. Maybe there's somebody who's just getting started or needs some money. Maybe you are filthy rich like Kimmy and has millions and millions of dollars in your coffers. And so you could give your 1,000 credits. You can give your 1,000 credits to somebody else. Hey, you guys, hey buddy, you cleaned up on that Zito. I know you still got some of that cash laying around. I know you see, look at him. He's laughing. He gave it away.
I tried to get you in there, man.
So this is what I will tell you, Kimmy. It was funny. I went to New Babbage yesterday or day before yesterday and just happened to go up to the restaurant. You know, I was going to go get something to eat at the Greens place, the little health bar there.
Yeah. You know your spot.
There were 2 envelopes there, right?
Really?
Then I walked around to the other restaurant. There were 2 envelopes there. Then I went down to Wally's and went to the Oasis, you know, the dance clubs. There were envelopes on the floor there. And then there were envelopes on all the cocktails. I walked out with $10,000 within like 6 minutes.
Okay, so you did pick them up.
I picked them up. Oh, I picked them up. Yeah.
You needed to add that because you were throwing me off. Okay?
Oh, well, I mean,
there was some there. There was some there. I'm like, now that's a rich guy talking right there.
Well, no, I'm not that rich because here's the kicker. I got them all and went to the terminal and it wouldn't let me trade them. So I couldn't figure out what was up with that. I did not. They showed up. They showed up, but they were grayed out for some reason. And I kept thinking, well, maybe it's past the expiration. But the festival is going until the 26th, so it's still active, and the envelopes are still there. So yeah, I've got them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and maybe the trade terminals at New Babbage weren't doing it, even though I think that they would. It did show, but like I said, it was like they were grayed out. So it said 10. But they were grayed out. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Scuba. Maybe that's the case. Yeah, you know what, Chant? I'm wondering if that's the case too, because I did see a video where somebody sold them at R-Corp. So that's what I was thinking I'll do is I'll travel to a couple of other locations and see whether or not those terminals will accept it, because maybe that is the case. So thanks for that suggestion. That was
not at the same location, basically.
Yep. And it was definitely consideration. So, but again, it's till the 26th, folks. So if you see the envelopes, you can collect them, you can give them to somebody, or you can just cash them in. $1,000 will pay for some repairs on your ship. 1,000 UEC, right? You can get some repairs done, if nothing else, and get some fuel. So there you go. Okay, I've been mostly at Everest, really, and you haven't seen any. Interesting.
I'm like Goma, ATL. Tell me where they were. I did not see any.
Yeah, I was in New Babbage. I hit Wally's. Definitely when you go into Wally's, they're all over the place in there. I think I picked up at least 8 of them there. So
wow.
Yeah, just so you know, if you want to get them, that's where you got to go. Okay, so anyway, that's the New Year piece. The other thing that's going on right now, Kimmy, is they kicked in the free fly this past week.
Oh, the big deal.
And
that's a big deal.
You know, whenever they do these are always good. This one was a unique one though, because they ended up doing 6 ships as starter packages. And on the screen, and I think we can kind of figure out which ones there were. There was the Freelancer, there was the Dragonfly bike, there was the Prospector. This was interesting. They threw the Arrow in this time. Yes. They threw in the what's that other ship? Oh, the Mustang Alpha.
Yes.
And then they threw in a Aurora MR. And so any of those
Pretty cool.
six, you know what I was surprised at, Kimmy? They didn't include the new the Nomad. And I always
Yes.
thought that and I guess that
Yes.
ship is maybe not considered starter. I don't know. Maybe it's considered a step up. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that maybe is why they didn't include that as a starter ship this time around? Or maybe maybe because it was pushed during November, they didn't do it again? I'm just kind of surprised that it wasn't included in that pack.
I kind of think that they're probably going with the more established ships.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I would say, you know, with that, they made their sales with that. So maybe try to drum up more sales with those particular ships or balance,
Mm-hmm.
and to drive sales on that side of it.
Yeah, that's true, because the Nomad did do its sales previously, and that does point a little bit differently. I like what Chantal says here, that Nomad is kind of considered like a step up to like the Titan is.
Yeah.
So that could be very well. And you're right, they did highlight a different ship. Like this time, it seems like what they did was take starters based on careers versus what we would have called like the cheap starter ships before. So like the Arrow is a light fighter. You know, it's considered like if you want to get into a fighter ship, that's like the good entry level place to start. So you're right. Maybe that was what the whole motivation was. You know, the Prospector obviously starter for mining. Freelancer, you know, that could have been between that and the Cutlass, but I guess the Freelancer out of all the Freelancers is the base Freelancer is the starter of the Freelancers, you know. So I guess that makes sense. And of course the Aurora MR is a starter, right?
But if you break it down, Griff, the Arrow, in the sense that it has that PvP centric type of game style, so it's going to pull that crowd. But then the other ships, by them being older, imagine this, if you're, you know, I'm trying to echo the devs and what's going on with their minds. So they have these older ships and vehicles, so they get a lot of new potential backers in there, and they have a volume of them doing the free flight. So they gather the metrics to see how optimized these ships are, and to get proper metrics to say, okay, this is more of a legacy ship. Let's see what it's doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because the Mustang definitely is one that would fall in that category. The MR would definitely fall into that category, and I guess to a degree, even the Freelancer would too, because there's so many people who will use the other Freelancers, like the Max, for example. People will take the Max over the regular one. So I could kind of see, like you said, that's considered kind of more of a legacy ship. So yeah, that's a very good point. Very good point.
We don't want to scam too much with the price tag.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point.
He's like, what? How much is this ship? I like it, but wait a minute, how much is it?
But you know, that's a very good point that you mentioned, Kimmy, because that was a real, for some people in the early days, one of the reasons why CIG took down the ship thing the way it was structured was because people would come into the ship log and see, like you said, a $250, $400 ship, and they're like, whoa, what's that all about? I have to pay this type of money to play. And it was kind of lost. So now they do have it where that starter ship thing is like the first thing you see, you know, and people kind of.
Does it come with a computer?
Yeah, right. Shoot, does it come with a real ship? I know.
Right.
For real, brother. You got that right. Okay, well that's very cool. So any of you guys, you know, there wasn't any incentive this time around, which is interesting. Kimmy, they gave out a really cool incentive last time when they did the free fly, when they got people to sign up for Star Citizen. They gave people dragonflies. You know, they actually gave you a dragonfly. This time around, I don't think there was any big thing, you know, if you get somebody to sign up, you know. But it'll be interesting to see how our numbers get impacted for the month of February, you know, whether we see some growth, you know, again, because we have been seeing that the numbers for people signing up and participating in Star Citizen have gone up over the last couple of years. So let's see what happens with after February. Okay.
But you know what? To cap it off, Griff, there's only 6 more days left for this free fly. Yeah. It ends on the 25th.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's right. You're right. So we'll see what, like I said, we'll see what happens for the rest of the month if it affects our numbers. Lucky, good to see you. Good to see you, Lucky.
Guy.
All righty. All right. Well, listen, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the show, and we're really excited about today's show. I was really excited about the ISC from this week. Yeah, really, really good ISC. So if you guys haven't seen the ISC, get your popcorn. Yeah, man, this was great. Friday. There you go. This is some good stuff. Let's take a quick look at that, okay?
One of the main things that we wanted to do with Arson is create a place that's visually distinct from anything else we've done before.
As someone in the universe, it's kind of a destination. It has this like unique open space and feeling,
which separates it out from a lot of the other landing zones.
It's becoming quickly one of the best places we've ever made.
What's really so unique about Orson is that it is a floating city that Crusader uses to manufacture all their ships.
It's just a really great place where this company set up their entire network, including places for the people that work for them to live, to shop, all that kind of stuff.
One thing that we've learned from previous landing zones that we were able to apply to Orson was this idea of focus on places to visit.
So with that in mind, we already knew that it had to be this just really outstanding place where everything is gorgeous to look at, everything is scenic.
In comparison to the other locations, we try to improve the navigation for the player and have everything a bit more easy to read and to navigate to.
We have, all kinds of assets that are just adding a lot more movement to the scene, and that's something that I think will really bring a lot of life that we've not quite done before.
So the commercial platform, or as people in Orson know it, CloudView Center, is kind of the main hub of Orson. It should really give the feel of almost not quite a theme park, but have that sense of pageantry that you would expect from there.
When the player arrives at the commercial platform, right in front of you after leaving the train station, you have a nice rest and relax area with some fancy little trees.
A lot of the time our landing zones are quite still, there's not a lot of things moving around, but what we wanted to do with Orson, since it's essentially a lot of gardens floating around in a gas giant, is that we have an opportunity to play with wind.
And we had a couple different ideas, but the cherry blossom kind of style of tree stuck out because they could do the effect of having stuff blowing in the wind, which I think is going to be quite beautiful.
And I think it's really going to create a very calming space for the player to relax in.
You have one of the main attractions is this unique creature, the storm wall, or as it's commonly known, the space whale, that lives amongst the clouds there, and it's a big draw, and they do tours for it, and so they really want to highlight that in a dramatic way. And then they developed really stunning kind of flowing sculpture to back end it.
And this wind sculpture kind of feels like the whale is splashing a big wave behind it,
which again ties into the sense of wind and movement that's across the platform. Green Circle are the main habs on Orison. They're kind of like a split between a hotel and apartments, and it's the main place people stay when they're visiting Orison. And it's got a really gorgeous lobby that you can come into with a new feel. And one of my favorite features is this hot tub sauna area that overlooks the vista from CloudView Center, and it's stunning and a really great addition. So I thank the art team for adding that.
The habs are a lot like what we've done before. The difference here being that we're kind of bringing in a lot of the look and feel of Orison into the habs, and it's going to have a little bit more of organic materials like wood, a few more plants, and it's just kind of going to feel a little bit more homely rather than cold and high tech.
Stratus at CloudView Center is the main shopping building.
And I think in general it's going to be very different from a lot of other shopping areas we've done because it has a lot of sort of character and feel.
And one of the main features is Voyager Bar on the roof.
Voyager Bar is going to have some really, really incredible views towards the rest of Orison.
I can imagine going up there, having a drink at sunset, and just enjoying my day there.
As we lead towards final art in the commercial platform, there's a lot of little things we need to sort of figure out, mostly to do with tidying up a lot of the geometry and, making sure that the place is playable to the best extent.
We're building Orison with room to grow, so of course later on in future releases we're going to be adding Orison General and the main Crusader showroom. The showroom will show off all the ships that Crusader makes, and Orison General will start featuring our new kind of life and death cycle, healing mechanics, and all that kind of stuff when that comes online.
We also need a whole new loadout sets for characters. Currently we are using placeholder AI, and something we're setting up for future releases are the maintenance access points.
With the idea that these doorways can lead into mission areas where players will be assigned to do repairs or sneak into an area, and there's a lot of possibilities that we can put behind those doors. But by building in those access points now for future mission content, it gives us a lot of leeway to design stuff.
I think once we're done, it's really going to create one of the best spaces in Star Citizen.
I really hope that players visiting Orison get a sense of really being a visitor. We have this sense of exploration a lot of times in visiting our really cool moons and other places, but here is this kind of really curated experience to come look, learn, and see at Orison. So I hope they get to take a mini vacation within our game.
This early.
Okay. Kimmy, give me your thoughts. By the way, guys, you remember Friday night, this is your night. We want you guys to come on the show and talk with us and tell us what you guys think of this. You guys hear me and Kimmy all the time. We want to hear what you guys think about what you saw from Orison. So there's a link that we just put in the chat. Let me drop it in there again.
Great
of course,
point,
I clicked
Griff.
on the wrong thing, of course.
Come on in, guys.
Yep.
Gals, don't be shy.
Yeah, you guys come in and talk to us and tell us what you guys think about what you saw on ISC this week. Kimmy, go ahead, talk to me. Tell me, what did you think about what they revealed to us today or yesterday?
I'm so ready for this, man. We've been in Stanton for how long? But it's just to say, man, this is the final piece. They should have a anniversary or some kind of party to celebrate us moving out of Stanton. But yeah, it's time, and I can't wait because this is the first location that's based upon a manufacturer who lives in this system.
That's very true. I didn't think about that. Here's a question I want to throw at you. What's up with these? They keep popping hot tubs into the game. I don't know what the scoop is
They like
with that.
to get wet, man.
Yeah, dude, they keep throwing these hot tubs in, and I'm like,
likes to get wet.
I guess what my question is, what's the mechanic going to be? I love the fact that they have them. I've got a Phoenix. I mean, we've got these cool swimming pools, and it's like, what's going to be the mechanic? I mean. And they mentioned, there's this hot tub there with this great view outside. I'm like, okay, that's great.
Please don't get sued.
Yeah.
Please don't get sued.
I know. You're right. Go Mab. We got Go Mab with us. He just dropped in with us.
Mab.
Good to see you, man. How are you?
How y'all doing tonight?
Oh,
how are you, sir?
Another week, my brother. Another week. What you got for us, man?
No, I'm really impressed by this new city. It's really showing. We got the planet city with Arco, right? We got the industrial spaces with Lorville, Hurston, and we got what we got going on in Microtech. And so this is just showing the diversity of cityscapes that they can really snap, copy, and clone this across the verse, and make some changes to some coloring and really make it different. So I'm like, can't wait to see it. I really want to see if they're going to make it, make the atmospheric approach a little bit different for ships with wings versus flying bricks, right?
That's a good question.
Make the Crusader ships actually handle a lot better on approach.
That makes sense. I mean, when you think about it, because of their designs, they all do definitely have ships with these great wingspans and stuff, and basically look like aircraft or airplanes, I should say. So that's a very cool point. I never gave any very much thought about that. I also like the fact that they talked about that they would have their quote unquote showroom there for their ships. Like Kimmy said, a lot of the other manufacturers are in other systems, but they've got their headquarters there, which is going to be kind of neat. Yeah, I'm excited about that. Kimmy, did you see the thing in there about the mechanical rooms and stuff? They were talking about setting that up for like missions later. What do you think about? What do you think about those? I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, those mechanical rooms, and when it said data on the wall or the room that pertained to data, and immediately, I started going back to the Star Runner, and then those that machinima style of video. So basically, we're talking about stealth. We're talking about espionage, corporate crimes where you're stealing data. Stealth. So it hailed to that. It made me think of that, especially with that type of ship, the Crusader that they sponsor. That it's a data runner. It's fast for its size. So that's going to be interesting as far as mission givers.
Go Map. I was talking with my buddy Nihilus a couple hours ago, and I think Fist to Face was there too, and I was saying that I've been following this game now since 2013, right? I mean, I've been trying to do my best to watch videos and sit and listen, and citizen cons and the whole 9 yards. And even after all these years, which is 8 years, whatever, 9 years, long time.
It was 2021. Yeah.
I am still very much surprised at how much about this game I don't know, and also how much about this game that I haven't pictured yet. And Kimmy just touched on something about that gameplay with the mechanical rooms. Do you think this is like another? I think that most people, when they've approached Star Citizen, because of what we hear, most people are talking about PvP. They're talking about flying. They're talking about combat. Maybe talking about FPS. But this mechanic, Kimmy just mentioned something about espionage. Being maybe getting a mission to go fix something. Does this kind of broaden the appeal, do you think, in Star Citizen, so that for people who maybe aren't into those things, it gives them a means to, participate in the verse and make money and stuff? Or do you think it's going to be one of those missions will be like how they have those missions right now where it's like pick up the dead body and get rid of it? Do you think that do you think that these will be meaningful for people who maybe aren't into the more flying and stuff like that in the game? And go map.
It all depends, man. It can be as deep as a teaspoon or as vast as a canyon. Ultimately, right? It could just be something like go here, do that. Oh, that was great. Or it could be really, really immersive. It really depends on what they do with it. I do appreciate that they're at least opening up the potential for going deeper in, and it's okay if the first iteration isn't that deep, right? It just you kind of peek into it and just see what the potential is and pull it back out. So I can appreciate it either way.
That's a great point.
That is a good point. Mad Style, as always, you come in with the James Brown first one notice. So thank you for the 5 subs. For those of you who got the subs, hey, give the thanks to Mad Style. He's out there gifting them away as always. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that, Go Map. You're right, because the depth of it could go. They could take it whatever level they want to. Whether it just be this random mission or whether, like you said, it be tied into some aspect of lore. Or some other, like the Xeno thing that just happened recently, right? We just did that big Xeno thing. What if there had been some side mission that was related to espionage, where while the battle is going on out at Jericho, if you're able to get onto Jericho and get into one of those mechanical rooms and do something, maybe you've got a team of people that are more like Navy SEALs, that go in and do something like that. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of space for what they could do with that. I think that's a really cool point that you mentioned. Yeah, so let me ask Kimmy, this about Orison. What'd you think about the look? Last time we saw it was a white box. Now we saw it with cherry blossom trees, colors, flags, wind, the what do they call it? The space whale. What'd you think of it when you saw it?
It's just it just shows us that they have so many layers of details, and that what we may assume about Orison, we can do that all day. But once it's done, it's truly going to show us that, wow, I didn't expect this. I didn't expect that. Especially about the data center. Now you're adding other layers of intrigue into the place. You thought it was one of those kumbaya areas and the space whale, but there's underlying details with Orison. So you just have to wait and see. Until they start to reveal everything, because now they're starting to take these layers of other things and bring them into the game. Because remember, we saw in Microtech, the guy stole the data pack. It was kind of wonky, right? But he was showing he was taking a data server or something. He was stealing it. So now they're saying, oh, we haven't forgotten that. Now we're layering in these missions and making them more complex, even though they have similarities. So, it's a nice place. It's beautiful, but keep your head on a swivel, because there's danger too. Like a rose, it's beautiful, but it has its thorns.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, we got some more guests came in. Me and Kimmy can have a drink and sit back now. We'll let you guys take over. Fist to Face just joined us. Lucky joined us, and also Admiral Kusanagi joined us. So nice. let me start out. Let me start with who came in first. Fist to Face, good to see you. Tell us what you're thinking, what you saw from ISC, or whatever it is you want to talk about.
Okay. Well, I like it. I'm gonna be, I like to have another place to be able to explore. you know, it really it makes me feel like the game is growing.
Mhm.
No, but I'm just saying. But you know, like we talked about earlier, you know, Griff. You know, to me, I like to see that though. You
Mhm.
know, and one of the things, like we were saying, when my dad was just actually talking about, I was like, man, you know, we want to see what it's going to be like about the space whale,
Mhm.
you know, and how that's going to play in there too, because that's a part of or Crusader, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Lucky, I think this is the first time you've been on with us. Thanks for coming by. We appreciate you stepping in with us. How are
Hey,
you?
Lucky.
Hey, Griff, doing pretty good.
Good.
How you guys doing?
Doing good, man.
Good.
Doing
It's
good.
Friday night, man.
Mhm.
How y'all doing?
So, Lucky, what did you think about Orson?
I think it's going to add a nice color palette to the new area where it's going to be around Crusader.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually waiting to see Crusader myself. It's like a new gas giant that we've never seen. I mean, we've got the clouds now, but they're kind of
Mm-hmm.
they're normal. The things we didn't have prior to, what was that, 311, I think.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think it's going to add a new addition. I've also, you guys keep talking about the new mission areas,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of brings me back around to like Hurston, where they have like what was the working area that's
Mhm.
has a little turnstile.
Yeah.
What do they call them?
Nice.
The turn doors or whatever they is. I can't remember what they're
Mhm.
called. But you have those, and then there's a few other places like no, actually in Tammany and Son, if you go through the back, right behind the guy in the cash
counter?
register.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's that door over there. It says like pick the door lock or
Yep.
access it or whatever. But
Oh,
there's
wow.
little things they have in the game right now. It's kind of interesting that they haven't really touched or finished on it, but they leave their self open-ended areas where they can come back and reiterate on it at a later date.
Yeah.
Great point.
Absolutely. Admiral Kusanagi, good to see you as well. What'd you think about Orson?
Hey guys, long time.
Yeah, it's good to have you.
Orson looks fantastic. It kind of reminds me of, as we see these different locations, this kind of reminds me of like maybe the Dubai of Stanton system. Originally, I thought it was maybe Microtech or something like that, but I just kind of think this looks so fresh and some stuff looks so clean, I guess, that maybe it looked like that. I'm hoping that someone I think in Spectrum the other day was like, they said they wanted to see some activity in HDD, up in the business center, maybe some meetings in some rooms. I'm like, that would be a
Yes, a little
fantastic
bit.
idea. And if they could get that here, maybe some trade deals or people buying NPCs buying ships or ticketing out for a spin, that would be even better. And maybe people even jumping in some hot tubs. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, to your point, and Lucky just touched on this too. For those of you who have gone into the HDDs, the Trade Center, you'll notice that there, especially at Hurston, there are conference rooms. There are separate rooms that are locked down right now. And we've talked about this before. Very rarely does CIG put something in the game that's not going to function. It's just there for ornamental purpose. And I do have to wonder, Admiral, whether those rooms will be rooms where deals will be done. I'm pretty excited about when I see those spaces, like Lucky said, those doors that lead somewhere. You could tell that right now it's red, but that it's supposed to be able to be green later on where you can access it. And I remember even Disco, when they put in the cargo area, he talked about those back areas where the employees go. There'll be some reasons for those things being there to go into them later on. So, to see the gameplay, I think Gomab said this earlier, it could be as small or as big as they want it to be. If I want to do just a simple mission that actually dictates that I don't have to leave Orison, or I don't have to leave Lorville. I can actually do missions there if I want to. So I'm not forced into this thing where no matter what I do, I've got to get in a ship, I've got to go somewhere. And then at the same time, to have that option, I think is good too.
Talking to some people, it's like some people just want to be engineers on a ship.
Yeah.
And some people just want to be stationary on a planet and set up a base there and just stay there and maybe have to go to some other location now and then.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how the play style is in a few years.
Yeah. I'm curious to see too, and we're going to go into the second half of this. I'm also curious because they showed us that there was a hospital here as well. And for those of you who are into that whole
Orson
medical
General?
career, yeah, Orson General, they showed that. And I'm really curious to see at what level because they've talked about medicine as being a career. And I'm wondering whether or not there will be something that allows players to actually work out of a hospital. Not that this is the only place we go to go clone ourselves, but that there's actual activity. Yeah, like there's some type of actual activity. Maybe there's labs or research places in there that people in the medical profession, they can go there to do certain things, make certain things, and then they can leave and go out. I'm hoping that those, exactly. I'm hoping those facilities become much bigger than just, we go there to check in and do our DNA and then we never come back until we die. I hope that the space is more functional than that. Anybody else got anything before we go on with the ISC? Because we can pick up the part 2 to this, because I think we'll all be interested in that.
But the guys they all make a good point. I love that about, the details, the first iterations that they don't forget, and the expansion and how it's growing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the location being eclectic and lived in, and it gives you a uniqueness. And then the fact that, Lucky mentioned how, the gas giant, but then it's tied in, like you mentioned, with medical, Griff,
Mm-hmm.
like the gas giant will start to incorporate the refuel aspect of the hydro fuel pulling from that actual gas giant. And then the space whales, what Fist mentioned about how we will actually see them come out of the gas giant. We get on our ships because they're going to be so large that we can land our ship, grab valuables like maybe minerals or some sort of deposits from that gas giant. And then there's the mini game where you have to get on your ship and get out of there before he takes you back into the gas giant and you'll die. So yeah, you guys make great points about how they're going to reiterate things, but then they are really going to expand on all those things. And it's good that you guys have those different perspectives. And that's basically the game. These different perspectives that come together and tie this into this livable universe. And like you said, if you want to specialize in that, like Griff said, then we can incorporate ourselves into that profession and be a valuable asset to not just what we do in the game, but to others.
Very good. Giroux,
Good points, guys.
Giroux reminded us too that don't forget they'll be doing cybernetics there. So for those of you who want to get your discount leg or whatever it is you need to get, y'all check with Giroux. He'll hook you guys up. Pardon the expression.
I'm sticking with the Endeavor. It's got to be from the Endeavor. I want my arm look right, man.
All right, let's pick up from where we left off at the end. Here we go, guys.
Look at the progress of Orizin's commercial platform is just the first
Mad
we'll be
Style,
making
500
over the next
bits.
several months.
Thank you.
Mad
most
Styles.
ambitious landing zone to date continues its journey from tropospheric dream to persistent universe reality. But up next, from teams leaving their marks on the universe to the universe leaving its marks on our ships, systemic vehicle visual degradation has been in the sights of our developers for a while now. And the first major steps in delivering a world of wear, dirt, and car washes is currently underway.
We want our ships to feel like they're grounded in the universe, that the universe leaves its mark on our ships, and that where you've been tells a tale on your ship.
When you've used your ship and you've taken it down to a planet, or you've flown through an asteroid belt, or whatever it is that you've done in your ship, we want you to be able to, the next time you come to your landing pad and you see your ship, be able to go, it looks like
Griff,
this because of something I've done.
He will not have a dirty origin ship. I trust me.
So right now
on
we're
that.
working on our first version of visual degradation for the vehicles. There's lots of things that we want to explore with this feature, and right now we're kind of looking into what wear really means across the board. A lot of our assets in game already do wear and do get dirty.
We want the ships to look like they've aged. To get to that end frame, we need to break that down into different elements, like dirt, which is the build-up.
There's kind of two concepts of dirt that we're throwing around. There's the environmental build-up, which we already have in terms of our characters and the snow biomes, and you go and fly into a muddy swamp, you would expect there to be mud on your landing gear. But there's also the kind of concept of dirt, which I think you already see in a lot of our wear maps, is the build-up of grime, and it's an additive process. It's layers that are being built on top of whatever the ship came like out of the factory. And of course, with ships getting dirty, there's also going to be the concept of cleaning your ships. For the initial release, we're simply looking at when you go to a repair terminal, your ship gets cleaned.
And then which is more of the subtractive, if you will, so we're taking things away.
It's the paint fade that you get if you leave your car out in the sun. It's the scratches, it's the lacquer peeling, the layers being peeled away as you rub up against something, or as you go through atmosphere, or whatever we decide will be the kind of controlling element. And I expect there'll be lots of controlling elements.
The first version of vehicle degradation is cosmetic only, so to get that, what we're looking at is thinking about it in two levels. The macro, where we're looking at the ship as a whole, and we're masking it and doing a curvature bake so that we can tell the engine which areas are exposed to the elements, if you will, and those are the areas that will start to see the wear first as the ship ages. Taking it down to more of a macro level, we're looking at the textures that describe the panels that make up the exterior of the ship, and we're thinking of the panels, the panel lines, the edges. They're the bits that are going to be slightly more prominent, and in these areas that's where it'll come in.
There's other things that we need to consider as well when we're looking at the wear. We need to establish really exactly what wear means versus damage versus aging. They're separate systems and separate features that we want to be able to support. So when they come together, we get this really kind of beautiful, consistent, visually appealing end product. We need to look at how our materials, or how our paints scratch, and how different brands would coat their paints to allow them to scratch and behave differently. If you take some of our kind of like our high-end ship manufacturers, you'd expect them to be using much more expensive materials in their manufacturing, and how they wear is going to be very different to how some of our lower-end manufacturers kind of build their ships and how their materials wear. So once we've released this initial version of visual degradation, there's still a lot of work to be done in to get us to where we want to be.
Going forward, we're taking this and we're doing it on a limited number of ships to start with, because we want to dial in what these values are and how they behave, and just verify everything's working as we should, and then we get the pipeline established.
There's still a lot of work to do, especially on the dirt side of things, but it allows us to kind of test the waters, see what people think of the way we're going.
Now we're going to have this dynamic system in place. We want to be able to have all ships start from a new place and then tell the story of the universe as they travel through it.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that with Orison, the team's building a landing zone that will look, feel, and play unlike any other. That with wear and dirt, your ship will feel more an integrated part of the universe than ever before. And that with wear and dirt also comes newly clean versions of spacecraft. So what's a newly clean reclaimer look like? We're all going to find out together. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all next week.
Okay, so the moral of the story is some of you guys are going to have an Earl Scheib paint job, and some other people are going to have a Rolls Royce paint job. I don't know did you guys have Earl Scheib back in the day? Does anybody know what Earl Scheib is?
Bro.
You guys don't know what Earl Scheib is? Okay, I'll tell you what Earl Scheib was for those of you all who knew what Earl Scheib. Earl Scheib used to do paint jobs. This old guy used to come on TV late at night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. He'd say, "I'll paint any car for $99.95." And you would only go to Earl Scheib when you were trying to sell your used car, and you would get that paint job done beforehand so your car would look new, because the paint only lasted like 3 months. So I'm just saying that because they said that depending on your manufacturer, depending on the ship, some ships will have better paint jobs, that last longer.
Where was this Earl Scheib at? Where was he at?
It was a Midwest thing. Go, man.
Pops remembers.
Oh, Pops remembers them? Okay. Yeah, Mako would be the equivalent. Thank you, Kimmy. Yeah. It'd be like Mako. There you go.
I know Mako. Mako, if you want your car to look like an orange peel, go to Mako.
That's too funny. Oh my God. So, okay, let me start with Admiral Kusanagi here. Admiral, do you think that this wear thing, dirt thing, is going to be something to help us in the sense of like as an indicator to the status of our ship, or do you think it'll just be cosmetic?
I think that'll be a cosmetic thing, but I think you have a lot of people like just crashing the ships or self-destructing before they get in the pad or whatever. My only concern, I guess, would be green, because it looks like we're still using Safe Life Auto Glass company to come replace people's windshields because they look like junk. You think it's 930 years in the future, you might be using some type of transparent aluminum.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't need to. It wouldn't look like that. I'm hoping they would, in the future, the glass would just be clear or something like that. But like right here, we're looking at it like just get destroyed. And whether you're in a fighter or you're in a prospector or whatever, you got to see what's outside your windshield. But the last portion with the orange, paint job there, it looked fantastic. It really did. It looked fantastic. So I think it is a pro and con.
Okay. Lucky, what about you? What'd you think of it?
I like it. It's definitely what was the word we just used a second ago? I'm sorry.
Cosmetic. Cosmetic.
Yes, cosmetic. So it's definitely gonna be a cosmetic. However, I'm hoping that at some point they do multiple variations, because I don't want to pull up to a ship that looks just like mine has been wearing in the same exact places. So I'm hoping they have some sort of seed that they can create that'll variation, put a variation on each ship that's in a different spot.
Yeah.
And maybe, through damage or whatever, you add more damage or scuff or whatever to, certain parts of the ship.
Yeah.
But yeah. And as far as like being right now, it's going to land. Yeah. Like they said, you're going to land, refuel, repair, and get a new paint job or, buff out, whatever you want to call it. But I'm guessing at some point they're going to have you're all talking about earlier, a paint shop essentially where you can go to, maybe detail and get a different paint job. Maybe it's just it's hard to say at this point, but it's all work in progress, and we get what we get, and I don't really throw a fit.
Yeah,
but it's nice to have something that happens differently. And another thing is the windshields getting scuffed up like that. I'm going to bet, and this is a big bet, PvP is going to be a little bit harder in the future.
Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting thought.
Yes.
Let me throw something at you there, Lucky, because you mentioned it. You're right. There is going to be paint shops. One of the things that they talked about for ships like the Crucible, for example, will be able to not only repair ships, but also be able to implement things like painting and repair. I do hope that it becomes something more than cosmetic. I want it to actually be in some way or other tied to us understanding that our ship is being worn down, whether it be to damage or use. Similar to what we see with the components when we see percentages that say your component is working at 50% or 40%. To see that as a visual aid when I come up to my ship that says, hey, it's time for me to take my ship in and get some work done on it. Maybe because right now we don't have this whole balance with armor and all the physics of the actual structures of the ship, but they are planning on doing that. And if my bulkhead is only at 60% or 40%, there's no way for me to know that unless I have some type of visual indicator that shows some buckling or some type of striping or something. So I hope it moves beyond cosmetics so that becomes something that I actually, when I see that, if I land, when right now you guys will see when you get off an airline, a plane, you'll see a co-pilot walk around the ship and look at it. He looks at the airplane physically to see if there's anything wrong. He just doesn't go by what his instrumentation says, but there's a visual inspection that takes place. And I would love to see something like that in the game.
Yeah, I mean, this could be very well the first implementation of, going from just scuffing to actual damage. I mean, it's not necessarily guaranteed just a cosmetic thing. I mean, it may start as a cosmetic thing, but it may turn into something more.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Fist, what about you? Are you going to be an Earl Shive man or a Mako man? Or you, what's the scoop?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for that plug of Rolls Royce there, the car wash.
you got it, my man.
Oh yeah, you got that sharp eye watching thing going on over there.
Yep.
Yeah. For me, I will have to say in this game, I will probably have to go with the higher end of things. As usually in other games, I'm not really into the cosmetics, but in this game, I will be. But also to go back to what you guys were talking about, the wear and tear thing, I, do like the point of fact that hopefully there will be that mechanic in there that will tell you the condition of your ship. because that's an early indicator. It always is, you know, that wear and tear in your paint job, you know.
Okay, we'll see if they pull that in.
Remember that. Well, hold up for a second. What are you saying, Pops? Anybody?
Come on in there, Pops.
Come on in. You gotta get close. You gotta get close. You gotta get closer. You gotta get closer.
Don't be shy.
I just want to know if anybody remember the old MTV show Pimp My Ride.
Oh
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
I wonder if they're gonna have that in the game.
Oh yeah, it's coming. They've made it very clear to us that players will be able to do everything from repair work on ships, painting on ships. There will be some ships that will allow you to upgrades to components and
the module
the
system,
modules
right?
and changing things. Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility or customization that will eventually become a part of the game. So people who own ships like the Crucible, you know, it's down the road because that type of mechanics is down the road. But yeah, those who own Crucibles, I think that ship is like a 4-man operation to run that ship. So it's not just for repairs. Sure.
Okay. Also, I would like to say though, in addition, we see what's going on the ship outside, right?
Yes.
I would like to know if they're going to do the same on the inside,
Internal.
because you know that components are going to degrade over time.
Yep.
Yes.
Dust is going to get into the ship. I would like to know how are they going to bring, or are they going to bring in those little elements? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Will you have to mop your ship? Will you have to sweep up your ship? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Things like that, you know?
Yeah. Well, right now we do know the MFDs, and you know, it's funny because there are things that they have implemented in Star Citizen that come and go. There's certain mechanics that were in the game at one point that have been taken away, and a lot of times when people come in later, they didn't have the opportunity to see things like. Kimmy, remember Tessa?
Repair bots.
Remember Tessa? Right. I was going to say the repair bots. Right. Some of you all will remember when we used to have to go to Crytek to repair our ships. You used to have to go to a specific facility where you could refuel and you could repair your ship. And when you landed, those drones, those circular drones, 4 of them would come out and they would shoot this like a laser or whatever, and it would fix your ship. And that's gone now. Yo, I thought they were so cool. Absolutely. Yes, at Cryastro. Absolutely. I said Crytek. Cryastro. Thank you.
Desync was the issue, I believe.
Yeah, but they were very cool. They were very cool to be able to look at and watch them come out and repair the ship. So again, that was something that they were testing. And so I guarantee we'll probably see something like that come back into the game when it comes down to repair again. But it was a very cool thing that they were doing at one point. Last but not least, GoMab. What about you, brother? What do you think about this thing with the wear? Is it let me ask you this question. I'm gonna throw a tough one at GoMab because GoMab ain't scared. He ain't scared. He ain't scared to say what's on his mind.
Man. These guys are
but GoMab ain't scared to say what's on his mind. There are some people who will say, "Why are they wasting time on dirt? I want my reclaimer. I want my reclaimer." You know, how do you see this in the sense of development in the game? Is it another one of those like super ambitious pieces that Chris is doing for immersion? Is it something that you feel, take it or leave it, or do you feel like, oh, this is makes some sense?
Okay, first of all, get out of my brain. Okay, look. Second of all, if it doesn't directly impact the performance of my ship, you can leave it out for now. I get it. I understand why you're doing it, because I understand Chris's vision and why this is very important, right? And maybe even more important than a lot of other things that may be important to me as a gamer. But for me, like if it's just one of those things where I've been flying around, look, even when the game releases, all my ship's gonna be dirty except for the one I want to pull out that's gonna be clean. You know what I'm saying? Like you get that garage princess that clean that you pull out when you want to jump clean. Otherwise, I don't care.
Right, okay.
Put on or whatever.
I hear you.
If this was my PvP ship,
right,
it's a worker. I'm not about to waste money or time cleaning it.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep them guns right, and they're gonna be ready to do what they gotta do. So, like again, at this point in the development, I understand, but at the same time, unless there's a situation where if your paint job degrades to a point past a certain threshold, then now your whole stability has been decreased, right? Okay, I can see that, right?
Gotcha.
If you don't keep your paint up, then you lose some of your protection.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can see how that can impact it. But and maybe they're working towards that. So I'm not going to completely poo-poo on it, right? I can see how we can be working towards that. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and I think that is what Pop say.
No.
What Pop say?
Pop said Gomez gonna have a Gorilla Glue and duct tape paint job.
Hey, but them guns gonna be right.
Hey,
baby,
that's right. That's right.
You're gonna see that Gorilla Glue advertising with that young lady on there.
That's all right. That's all right.
This thing worked.
But you know what? I think. But you know what? I think that GoMab. That's why I said I threw that question at GoMab, because I think, again, that's why I said I would love to see it be more than cosmetic. I want it to be have some meaning in the game. And don't get me wrong, it's great, like you said, the idea of seeing, just like when I see people walking around and I see that in their suit when there's cold and I see they're covered with frost, you know, it looks great aesthetically, but I also want that to be an indicator that it's cold, that the person is being affected by it. If they're shivering, you know, it has to go beyond cosmetics. And I'm saying so far, like you said, GoMab, Chris and them have been trying to connect the dots that way. But like you said, if it has some meaning to it, then great. I think it's to me, I think that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping it has significance in the game. And though, like, again, those of you guys who own Crucibles, ladies, if you own a Crucible, that's going to be a career. And something else too, it's interesting that everybody had a different perspective on what. There are going to be some people who every time they roll out, they want their ship to be pristine. They're going to be other people going to be like, I don't care if it costs 5 credits or not, don't waste the money washing my ship. I mean, they're not going to care. So everybody's going to have a different perspective on something as simple as how pretty their ship looks or how dirty their ship looks. Some people want it to look dirty. Yeah, I mean, some people want it to look dirty. And I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Do I want my reclaimer? Am I going to clean my reclaimer every time I come out of an asteroid belt? You know, I mean, am I going to really thinking about, oh, my reclaimer needs to be clean? I am going to worry about my Phoenix. I'm going to worry about my Phoenix looking clean. Absolutely. I'm going to clean that sucker every time.
890 jump.
890 will never get dirty. Never dirty. Never get dirty. Okay?
You're never leaving the car wash.
It will never get dirty. Do you hear me? Never get dirty.
Move the line.
Yes, sir.
He's stopping at the car wash on the way everywhere he goes.
That's right,
and
brother.
on the way back.
What are you talking about? I'm gonna have a car wash attendant on the ship every time I take it out. What you talking about? All right. So let's
see. I would like to put in, like, you know, maybe you can.
Don't be rolling your eyes, Gigi.
Maybe you could keep that you know, the scuff marks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then put like a clear coat on that ship patina. You know?
Yeah, okay. All right. So let's settle down. You guys, if you don't have a drink or anything, get it, because we are going to take a look at the SCL for today. So get yourself a drink and relax on this one, and then we'll talk about it once we get done with it. So here we go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Star
Mad
Citizen
Style, you
Live
are crazy. Thank you. 500 bits. Thank you.
Star Citizen Live before. It's where we take about an hour at the end of our week, hang out with some of our developers, showcase a little bit of what they work on, answer questions from you, the Star Citizen community, and generally just try not to reveal anything like a Nine Tails lockdown, if at all possible. Joining us on the show this week, we have our esteemed panel of guests from the Landing Zone content team. This is not everybody on the team, but this is a good cross-section sampling of those who make our Landing Zone. So we're going to take a few minutes and just go around the room and introduce everybody here. We're just going to start, clockwise from my right. Boy, who are you? What do you do for Star Citizen?
Hi. Yeah, my name is Boy. I'm an environment artist in the Frankfurt studio of the LZ team. So, I mean, it's the LZ chat. I guess that's why I'm here. And I work on the landing zones, particularly Lorville, for example. I worked on New Babbage, Horizon. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Cool. Thank you for being here. Jumping immediately to my left. This is almost like Hollywood Squares. If I had 2 more people, we could have done a Hollywood Squares gag. Emmanuel, who are you and what do you do for Star Citizen?
Hey, I'm Manuel and I'm level designer, and I was responsible for Area 18 and currently Horizon. In between, I also did a bit of modular work for rest stops and the prison.
Cool.
So.
And you were just recently seen on our Horizon piece that we aired yesterday on ISC.
Exactly.
Luan, no stranger to Star Citizen Live, probably the person on our panel that's been on the show the most. all the same, tell people who you are, what you do for Star Citizen.
Sure. Hi, I'm Loan. I'm a senior environment artist on the UK LZ team. I've been here for a little while. I've worked on a bunch of stuff from, let's see, original rest stops to Star Marine to Lorville, Air 18, New Babbage, now Orison, and a bunch of other stuff.
When he first came on board.
And I want to take a minute to commend you on you owning the heaviest book known to man, the Ralph McQuarrie Doubles concept book from Star Wars. I have it.
It really is.
It really is the heaviest.
Carrying that once.
I don't know what paper it's made of, but it is the heaviest book known to man. Nick, Center Square. Who are you?
Oh,
what do you do for Star Citizen?
Hi, I'm Nick Etheridge. I'm the lead environment artist for the landing zone team. I've worked on landing zones from Area 18 onwards. So that's Area 18, New Babbage, Orison, and before that, many other things like space stations and outposts, ground locations. I've been here for, I think, coming up to 7 years now, so quite a while.
Yeah, we started very close to the same time. And I see you have your Clouded Imperium exclusive Pico prominently on display in the background.
Yep. Lovely little guy.
Andreas, we don't see you nearly enough. Thank you for taking the time. Who are you? What do you do for Star Citizen?
Well, my name is Andreas. I'm the lead level designer for Star Citizen, and I pretty much oversee every location that we build, both landing zones and moduling. So,
lead landing zone for Star Citizen.
Lead landing zone. Oh yes,
lead designer, lead level designer.
There we go.
That's what you said. Lead level designer.
Third time's the charm.
Hey, they don't hire me because I'm good at this. Last but certainly not least, Josh. Who are you and what do you do for Star Citizen?
Red one.
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm the principal environment artist for Star Citizen. I've been at the company for a little over 3 years now. I started out on Squadron 42 and I moved over to the LZ team over the past few years, and I've covered things from New Babbage and Orison. So, but my role within the team is kind of more focused around workflow and setting art benchmarks.
Cool. Now, for this show, we're going to do things a little different. We're going to get to the backer questions in a bit, but we're going to start with a bit of a history lesson here. We're going to go through the overall development of our landing zones throughout Star Citizen's history, and the story of our landing zones starts with the original ArcCorp, the one that came online in Alpha 2.0 way back in the day. It wasn't integrated into the persistent universe at the time. It was a separate mode. I know that not a lot of folks here worked on that one back then, but just because I don't want to leave it out, what do we remember? What do we remember about how it went, about what we learned from it, about lessons from that original landing zone that we took forward into our, into the work that we use today? Just what, if anything, does anybody remember about the lessons we learned from that original landing zone?
They're mostly to do with frames per second.
Oh yeah.
Most of the lessons.
Yeah. I remember actually when I started, it was being worked on, but I didn't work on it personally. And I think actually visually and kind of the experience, I quite liked it. I remember watching it and I thought it was pretty good, but it was very specific to what it was built for. It was built before procedural planets was a thing, so it was a specific landing zone with essentially a skybox as a background, like lots of buildings that were textures and simple meshes that kind of went back. But it was, the idea was you'd go down to a landing zone and there'd be nothing else on the planet to do. So that was a very specific plan for it. But obviously since then, landing zones are very different. You can fly all around them, and they're on planets where you can visit more stuff for. So I think lessons from that were how, and challenges from that were how do we build landing zones where it's not okay, now you're in the landing zone, we just need to tailor the experience to being inside it. It's no, you have to tailor the experience to being inside it, to flying around it, to landing around it, that kind of thing is what I would take from that.
Yeah, it was really hard because, like I said, the idea of procedural planets at that point was one of those stretch goal ideas we didn't think we were going to get to touch until years and years later, and then through the work of our new Frankfurt studio, and it came to be so much faster than normal. So that had a massive effect on the landings we built, and you'll see that reflected in the story as we go forward. For my own part, I can remember the terrible idea I gave to Jake Ross that they should add buggies to it after the initial release, and he's like, "Oh, that's a good idea." And then 2 weeks later, the video started. It was not good. Going forward, let's see what's up. So after that, we flash forward to Alpha 3.0. So Alpha 3.0 is our next major milestone. We've removed that old kind of separate Area 18, and we've added our first true landing zone in the new fashion, which was Levski on Nyx. I know not a lot of folks who worked. Did anybody work on Levski? What do we remember from Levski in our first attempt at actually integrating these landing zones into the physical mass of a planetoid?
I mean, we didn't do the interiors of Levski, but we did do the integration of it into the Armor, right? Plus building all the exteriors and all the hangars, and going back to what Nick said as well, this whole idea of integrating a small landing zone into a much larger exterior and everything that went with that, right? Which was a bit of a new challenge. Right? So the interior was not made by us, but the exteriors and everything else was pretty good by us. Right?
Were there any lessons that you can remember taking forward from that? What ways that Levski? Is there anything that we could see in that original Levski that we brought forward to landing zones after that?
I mean, it was, I would say, like hangars, for example, was one of the kind of first stab in the ground there, right? The hangars in Levski were built quite bespoke, and they will remain bespoke to this day. But it was also a takeaway from that we need to go in a much more modular approach with various things and create common elements to share between different landing zones to speed up the work. Otherwise, this will take forever.
There was a lot about how you get into the landing zone as well, which I think Levski was very. I mean, when I personally look back at it, if I was approaching it via like a buggy or something, I wouldn't really know where to go a lot of the time. And now things are pretty straightforward with how you get into a landing zone, in, out, around, and all that stuff. I mean, even to the point where in New Babbage, we added those surface entrances as well. So,
yeah, going on from that, the actual layout as well, like Levski is very maze-like and kind of hard to navigate around. There's lots of tunnels, and that's kind of nice in a traditional level design. But these are like social hubs, so in that respect, it wasn't very successful. And I think the later landing zones were much more successful in a kind of more of a streamlined layout, more of the social hub, and kind of leaving the more traditional level design to other locations. If that makes sense.
Right.
And also with the kind of multiple floors that they have in Levski, create a bit of a. It's still there actually. This logistic nightmares of elevators, where you think you're in some kind of cafe novel or something. I don't know.
Now, Levski recently went back to its home planet in another system. When it comes back, without revealing too much, do we expect it to be the same Levski that we're familiar with, or do you think we might take the opportunity to tweak and revisit?
I mean, we do have our secret lists of things that we would like to do, so who knows what comes. There might be certain spruce ups we do, but we might not tell anyone about them. It just happen. We'll see.
They're secrets.
There's definite lessons from post Levski which we've learned, which we'd definitely love to go back and when we release it, we would be looking to do some cleanup and some major stuff, and then there's some just general cleanup. There's definitely performance in Levski which we'd like to tackle. The exterior is made of lots of little meshes, and we're looking at either just merging meshes manually, just making larger structural meshes for the exterior, as well as tech that will do that kind of job for us. So there's definitely those kind of things which we'd be looking at.
There's some things that will just propagate to Levski sort of by chance as well, which is like we can improve some materials, some panels, some trims and things that we use on that particular art style set that will just inherently make Levski look a little bit better, right? So there's things like that as well. But I think probably on the planet side will be a lot of the improvements that come in, because our tech evolves a lot, and we do a lot of updates like using more realistic assets and materials now on the planets that will likely propagate to Levski as well.
Yeah, and also from a gameplay side, I mean, we're getting more and more features into the game, and we'll have to add them into the locations as well. So it will probably get some kind of passes.
Right, things like hospitals and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Makes sense. I think it's as we continue discussing discussing landing zones, we're going to see a parallel between the landing zones and our spacecraft development, in that we get better with each successive one that we build. We learn more. We take more of the lessons forward. We get more efficient. We get more clever in how we devise our solutions. So it can often lead to a sense that sometimes the older landing zones, just like the older ships, may not seem like they're the same quality as the newer ones. So it definitely creates a desire on many people's parts to go back and revisit and tweak and bring these things forward whenever possible. So while we may not have something specific to share about that with Levski today, you can probably expect some work being done before it makes its return later on. From Levski, where did we go next? Was it Grimhex? Was Grimhex was the next the next one? So so Grimhex different now. We did our first one that was kind of integrated into a planetary base, and now Grimhex is the overwhelming majority of an entire asteroid. Now, I know a lot of the work from Grimhex was done with our partners at the time at Behavior, but I know we did some white box and stuff here. So what do we remember from the original development of Grimhex?
I mean, the reason for Grimhex being added in the first place was that we needed a place for bad people to spawn. Right?
Criminals, not bad people. They could still be.
Fair enough.
Just opportunists, Andreas.
Some people just don't like operating within the confines of the law. That's not a judgment on them as a person.
Okay, people with different agendas. Okay. Need a place to kind of spawn and live, right? Because we didn't even have it, and we had a very basic version of the criminal system, if I remember correctly back then. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the main reasons. We did the white box in-house in Frankfurt, way back when, right? And it was pretty straightforward, actually. I mean, it was an asteroid base. You know, it's not much more than that. It's a base inside an asteroid, and it's nothing really particular about it.
You know,
we did want. I mean, like with all the landing zones that we build, of course, we try to future-proof them as much as possible. We try to add in, plan for the future, make sure that we do want to have hospitals 5 years down the line from now. So you really have to think quite far into the future of all the kind of things, and also just use common sense so we can guess what we want to have.
Okay. And recently we've made some additions and improvements to Grimhex. We added the raceway section, for the long fabled scramble races that are supposed to occur there. And then I think we did some hangar work there recently, didn't we?
Yeah, we added a full suite of hangars, and it never really felt like a full, complete landing zone until we did that. Now it feels like more integral, and it's more consistent with the rest of the landing zone. So there's enough slots for players to land in properly and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, it required some extensive rework of the asteroid itself as well. So looking back on the asteroid that we had before, it was really good. But it obviously didn't have a lot of space for things like, a blown out back where you could put in all of these hangars really, really nicely, because we didn't really have, I think, the solid hangar metrics that we have now. We didn't have then. and we obviously didn't have the hangars themselves. Things like where the actual racing location goes. Before, I think it had some sort of tunnel or something that we had white boxed and put in. So we blew that out. So again, it required a lot of asteroid moving around. But so yeah, that was quite those are things that we learned from later locations that we came back and applied or had to rejig some things to make it feel a little bit more like a modern Star Citizen location.
Yeah, that's the beauty of common elements like hangars is that we can go to old locations and input them. I know there was a bit of rework in the asteroid, but in terms of inputting hangars, didn't actually take too long, did it, Lauren? It was quite simple because we'd already established what a hangar is, and maybe the art changes between landing zones. Like in New Babbage, you've got a different art style of hangars, but essentially we've established what that is, what the experience is for the player, and so it makes refitting old locations a much smoother process. So the idea behind that's kind of the idea behind the common elements like hangars and hubs and things like that.
So at this point, we've dabbled. Everything up to this point has been dabbling, has been experimentation, has been learning this new tech, learning how to integrate things with our new procedural planets and stuff. Next, though, is to my mind, it's your first major milestone in landing in major landing zones, and that's the development of Lorville. So now that you've got a little bit of Levski here, now that you got a little bit of Grimhex here, now you're going to make your first giant city on a planet. Where do you start? What the scale is so immensely different. What were all of your involvements in Lorville? Let's start there. Who did what?
I mean, like, it starts with level design. So people, for example, Andreas and his team start together with lore. They create a white box, so like a very simplified version of the landing zone to make sure it hits all the beats in the right order. Like the walking isn't too crazy, not too long. It plays well. The navigation, you can find your way through the landing zone basically, and it has all the common elements in the right place, like the security, the hangars, and it's basically watertight, right? Then we have the white box, and that's basically where the artists jump in and they take the white box to gray box. And then to final art. I say it really fast, but that of course that takes quite a while. It's a very big place. I guess it's maybe
you guys
even
did
the
it in
biggest.
a couple of days, right?
It was easy. Yeah, I mean we cranked out that art like it was nothing. No, it took us quite a while, of course, because we've never done something on this scale before. I think. So it was also talking a lot with technical artists, getting stuff like how do you drop a planet, like a flat planet or a flat city on a curved planet. That's something we also never did before. So we needed the tools to support that. For example, like we call it the planet dropping tool, I believe. That's how I call it anyway. And it just takes all the different all the art we make and it aligns it to the surface of the planet. And it was just it's a lot of going back and forth on that front. This was something new, so that took a while to figure out, but we knew how to build all the basic beats and implement the common elements because we did it before, right? Yeah.
And also,
your involvement was a lot there, boy, wasn't it? Boy's being modest. You did quite a lot of actual making of Lorville, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. So I was involved. I did the HD building, the big chunky boy. Then I did the what was it? The Leavesden Square, the metro station, the transfers in CBD, and the lower hab lobbies, basically at the bottom of the habitation. So it was like Lorville is my baby, together with a couple of other artists.
What about anybody else's experiences with Lorville?
It was also one of our first locations we had a landing zone that was in the middle of a huge kind of city kind of thing, right? We had to develop the transit system of how to bring the players in and out of locations and travel through those very long distances. Those trains are very fast. I doubt you would catch up on them when I show you. But Yeah, so that was one of the challenges as well, because you have a big city that's located on a planet, you have the landing zone in the middle, and then we had to add all these gates because maybe they come from a different direction. We actually timed it once. We had one gate to start with, and if you came from the wrong side, it would take you like 65 minutes or something to run around the city to get to the gate, and we were like, wow, we need more gates. This doesn't work, you know.
I remember testing that. I
Oh,
just
yeah?
went in editor and I just walked from one side to the other side of the city just to see how long it took. It was something like that, yeah.
It's pretty insane. That's kind of when you start realizing the scale of everything, right? When you get on foot and start walking.
So the scale
I remember
is...
talking to one of the artists a while back too about the whole scale thing, especially when it came to where the clusters of the city finish and how we can have a player at the base of basically this massive city and get that scale feeling correct and making it feel tangible, and how they had gone over like a whole bunch of iterations and designs to make it work. And it's pretty successful what we have now, but we learned a lot of lessons in that and have brought it through with the rest of our landing zones as well. But that was kind of the first time that we had ran into that issue, because like Levski's like, it's kind of just a more like localized location, but this is a huge city, so you have like kilometers worth of blending the city into the environment, right?
Yeah. Besides, it's
So
not
that
like
was
the
interesting.
people from Lorville want to keep everyone in or anything, but it's
not at
it's
all.
a it's a city where you can't traditionally just slowly make suburbs and then just a few houses are left and then farmland starts, etc. It's this very um Andreas, I think you quite like the Hurston policies there, but it's very walled in. It doesn't let anybody
Utopia of
out.
the future. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Lorville was where we introduced everybody's favorite, the no-fly zone.
Very
And
authoritarian.
and our plastic bag heads, right? that was successful.
Right.
Like Andreas said, it was the first time we did a transit system outside of elevators, and there was I remember conversations about this, and most people, to be honest, were like, do we really need to do an actual physicalized train that would run on tracks? Can we not have it go underground, or can we have it spawn and then go across and then go into a tunnel and then teleport to the next area? And to be fair, like, a lot of us were just like, come on, Chris, do we really have to do this? This is such a technical pain. And he was always adamant, like, no, I want it to be physicalized, and we did it in the end. And it was challenging. It was very hard to do, but it did kind of work out in the end. It does give that feel, and in each landing zone has like that interesting, whether it's a train or a flying shuttle, it is quite interesting to have, and it isn't fake and all that kind of thing. So that was like one of the biggest technical challenges with Lorville, apart from like the scale as a whole, was trying to get the first working train in.
I can remember Dan Truffin in those Tuesday meetings, just
Yes.
week after week, showing the next version of the train, and Chris just being like, no, it needs to be a real train. It needs to be a physical train. It's like it should hit people.
With the trains, just like a small side note as well. I mean, I know some people, aren't necessarily super enthusiastic about traveling times. Sitting on a train for 1.5 minutes, you're like, I just want to sell my pistol. Come on. But I mean, because they are physical, we do have to traverse those distances. And even though we try to make those trains as fast as possible, it's going to take time. That's just part of the scale of the universe, right?
And one thing that Lorville introduced, which is a pretty key, time of the PU and everything, is the common elements. It was the first time we put in the hangars, the habs, the transit,
security checkpoints.
Yeah, security checkpoints. That's right. I'm trying to think if there was anything else, but so the UK team was heavy at work on the common element part, whereas the German team was heavy at work on the actual Lorville side of things. So my involvement there was a bit of work on the hangars. Actually, I did the big gorilla head, as we call it, as you come into the hangar, and it looks out. That was always a name of contention, but that's what it's called here. I also worked on the HABs, the HAB lobby at the top of the big crane-looking building, and the transit where the train actually comes in and out. And just on the subject of trains, I think that was honestly, I think one of my most fun tasks here was that transit platform, because it was an opportunity to really call out, look at reference of transit platforms around and make something that's very oppressive. Like, I think my favorite part about it is as you come in, you've got the gate, and then you come in and you look up. It's nothing but pipes. And let me tell you, I spent like 3 to 4 days just dressing pipes on the ceiling of that entire platform. The rest came out much faster, but the pipes, I was connecting things from one side to the other, going, oh yeah, this makes sense. And then you look up and it's just this network of pipes because you're below the plates. It was one of the most fun like tasks I had here, because it was just so, I don't know. It was the first time we're doing something really quite like that. So it was a lot of fun.
We have a follow-up question from the chat right now. Andreas, they want to know why there are no public restrooms at the Orville train station.
We have actually planned for public restrooms in most places, to be honest. So they're there. We just don't have that gameplay feature yet. So when that arrives, we will swing open the door to your favorite loose.
Wait,
that would be
the biggest question though? Are they unisex or not?
No, I think the biggest question is: Are you committing Richard Tyrer and the actor feature team to bathroom gameplay right now?
Yeah, we will be.
Yeah.
We have alleyways.
It's number one on our list right now. We're scrapping everything else this year.
Somewhere in our scratch drive, there lives some mocap of someone pooping.
Yeah. On a more serious note, like Andreas said, that would just be another common element, and we build our landing zones with a lot of future-proofing in mind. So we don't just have the shops and the hangars that we have currently. We always look for opportunities for a doorway, a corridor, a back alley, or whatever, where we'd say, okay, this is where a restroom could be. This is a door to there. So we know, and there's space for it behind.
Mad Style, thank you. 500 bits again. Thank you.
In the future, when we get restroom common elements and we get pooping tech and whatever you want to call it, then that can then be slotted in. Just like we were saying, I mean, Grimhex did need a bit of rework, but from like Area 18 onwards, there's a lot of extra space and potential and doorways and things like that to have all these kind of things, not just restrooms, but more stuff than that. Because we always want to future-proof a location. We don't. I know we're talking about reworking things like Levski, but we don't want to, break it up and start from scratch and go, oh, we've got to redo. It's more like modules that slot in. You get the kind of vanilla landing zone, as it were, and you can connect. Hey, we can connect the hospital on here. We can connect more stuff on there. So that's always been our aim for a while now.
I mean, many times when you walk through a city, like in the game, you might walk through some very boring place and it's just like a flat wall or it's like a weird section. That is just there as a temporary cover. That might turn into a shopping street at some point or a public restroom.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple of ways you can see how we telegraph what we're doing in the future is we'll either add a door that goes nowhere or, a really big empty space, like Andreas said, that like a corridor or something that you may walk by and be like, it's a bit weird, this area here, but there's usually some intention to expand, because we can't build that thing being tiny and then being like, okay, we gotta add this toilet in now, where the hell do we do it? I think actually, Boy, you added a nice toilet door somewhere in New Babbage, right?
In the Spy Grand Lobby, yeah, we have 2 restroom doors, so maybe sometime in the future.
One step closer.
If you're
just the same with the transit tracks in Dubab as well. Boy, you worked on that, and there's the main one that goes to Spire Grand, but there's a lot of other ones that sprawl out from that main one. So and not all of them are like perfectly connected up with the transit, but we aim for some to potentially go, to another point of interest or somewhere in the future. It's always there. Even if we sometimes we know, okay, we're going to put the hospital here, but sometimes we don't, and we're just like, okay, maybe there's in the future we'll put something there, but we don't know exactly what it is. But it's like it's just planning ahead and just trying to even the foreseen and unforeseen things in the future we try to plan for. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, if you're just joining us in the show, the Landing Zone content team has chosen violence and committed the actor feature team to 3 Seashells V0. Send your letters to Andreas Johansson, care of Foundry 44. Somebody's got to get them. It's not going to be me.
Fine, that's okay.
Before we move off of Lorville here, what's your favorite aspect of each of you? What's your favorite aspect of Lorville, and what's the one thing you wish you could go back and change if you could?
Favorite aspect is the utopian atmosphere.
It's just a really all-around positive vibe, you know.
It warms your heart. That's good.
It's the place where Andreas feels most comfortable.
Yeah. For me, it's the plates. It really is that feeling of being under the plates most of the time. They're so oppressive. I think we really managed to put that through, right? And I think that's what makes Lorville so special. What I would change is I think we've learned so much from building cities. I think there's a lot that we can go back to and do to the feel of the scale, like either by improving materials, improving meshes, but even if we keep it within the same boundary of Lorville, I think there's a lot that we can do to the visuals to make it feel even bigger without changing much.
Okay.
Yeah, I would double that. I think also, yeah, like the buildings, especially. We learned a lot doing like buildings. I think, yeah, I would love to go back and do a pass on them and make them hold up from a lot closer, which would allow us to, allow the player to get closer as well. So I think that would be a great thing. And I guess what I love most about Lorville for me is actually the CBD area, because I was just doing low tech for a pretty long time, like the grimy art style. Now we suddenly went to do this super shiny marble, like this golden utopia, and that was super fun for me to work on. Yeah.
That was refreshing for everyone, right? Because
yeah.
It's a little bit of a shock when you enter there from the rest of the city. You go like, damn, these people are rich.
I did like panel materials for as long as I was here at that time, and then suddenly we had requests for marble and gold, and I was like, oh, I don't even remember how to do these organic materials. What I gotta do? That was fun. It was a really good time.
I think that location in the CBD is probably my most favorite location, and like the brutalism kind of like sense of oppression that you kind of get from just standing in that lobby is immense. And like the only thing that I would change about it is a selfish point, and that is that I wish I could work on it, or wish I did work on it, because it's fun.
I love the aspect when you get out of your hab and you see like through those like dirty windows, and then you take the elevator down to the L19 plaza, to the balcony, and watch over the spaceport, and you see like the dust and everything going off, and I think that's really cool. What I would expand on, or like to work on in the future, maybe is like expanding the outskirts, the suburbs of the city, more like adding more shanties in, and more like populating it with life. Yeah. Just adding more life to the city.
Isn't your favorite part of Lorville and my favorite part together, me and Manuel, the restricted areas?
Yes.
Isn't that, your favorite? Tells me every day, he goes, man, we should really make some more restricted areas.
I can't get enough, so we worked a whole lot of time on that like last year, and did some changes and reworks on that, so that was a fun experience, right?
Yeah, it was fun I had here.
The views and opinions of Luan and Manuel do not represent those of Imperium Games, Robert Space Industries, or its subsidiaries.
To return to your previous question, I didn't really answer properly, right? I mean, my answer was a bit jokingly, but it's also a little bit serious. I do find the kind of dystopian atmosphere of Lorville being one of my favorite points there, because it lends itself to a lot of environmental storytelling. You can do a lot of interesting scenarios there, Hurston family versus people who are against them and all that kind of stuff, all the suffering of the small people versus the absolute decadence of the rich, right? So that's also something that I would like to return to and work on in the future, because that thing is something that really misses there.
Cool. Let's go ahead and move into Area 18 Redux. After Lorville, we got a chance to go back and take a second swing at Area 18, fully integrated into the persistent universe. It had to be a different experience because it doesn't use the procedural planet stuff. Now it's this giant city world. What were your involvements in Area 18?
Manuel and myself did the white box for it. He was quite fresh in the company then, actually. So I did some of the main areas and he helped with a lot of the extra stuff around. We can talk about it.
Yeah, so I personally worked on the Metro Center, actually. And some of the alleys leading away from that, and the alleys leading to Pachico, connecting everything, and as well the plaza you come onto when you leave the hubs, actually. So yeah.
And the transit routes of those shuttles flying through there. Oof, that's first time we did a kind of transit route that's not on the track, and we have to take a fairly solid object and make it bank and do all this kind of crazy stuff. That was a nightmare.
It actually gives some freedom because you're not bound
Yeah.
to tracks, but it also makes creates
But
more,
how much do you bank?
more challenges.
Like this in the curves, like everyone just loses their lunch.
Yes,
You know, that sense
exactly.
So it was, but it took probably 3 weeks to set up that transit.
For you guys, how, and this is just something I was thinking about, how easy did you guys think it was to visualize the Area 18 and how it would feel during Whitebox? Because usually you kind of get a feel for it, but I feel like Area 18, because of its nature of being a city planet and cities everywhere, I feel like it was really difficult to get sense of how that space was going to feel in Whitebox until we had some proper buildings and everything in there.
I mean, when I started with the white box and that, we did have the previous Area 18 to reference back to, of course, but
yeah, that's true.
There were certain things that we wanted to do to really sell the scale, right? For example, with the streets, we knew that we wanted to have buildings go up really high, and I know the first versions of Area 18 that we did, they had kind of capped streets, which basically felt like you're going in the tunnel, right? So what we did in the white box, we tried to break that up. You have the buildings coming out on the side, but you still see like a glimmer of light really, really far up somewhere to kind of give this illusion that you're really quite far down, right? And I mean, in general, just looking at various kind of movies and stuff, it is one of my favorite settings. This kind of cyberpunky kind of feeling almost to it, right? So it is stuff that I also like playing and looking at in my free time, right? So I kind of have that mentality, that kind of mindset of what to do there, right? It takes a bit of creativity to see a white box and kind of imagining like this white thing here, that's going to be an amazing skyscraper, but it's just a box. Yes, but could be a skyscraper.
I remember way back when we were trying to look at the initial version of Area 18 that we first put on a planet for one of our sitcom demos, and we took the original Area 18 standalone level and basically just dropped it on a planet with like the first iteration of the procedural planet tech with all the HUD surface elements on there, and everyone's like internally everyone's jaws were just like on the floor. It was nuts. But in that same moment we also realized how much work was ahead of us as well, with like how we were going to have to change that environment to make it not only work with the newfound physicality of the location but also performance wise. And like Andreas is like, this is like half the reason we changed the layout as well, because a lot of those performance considerations had to be made, but also we learned a lot from the original layout to make it better as well. But I look back on that fondly because that was like one of my first locations that I properly contributed to in the company. And from the art side of things, we did a lot of like loose exploration into where we wanted the vibe to go for that version of Area 18, like at least in the CitizenCon demo that we did way back then, that you can kind of see that's been brought through now, even though it's a completely different LZ now. But yeah, it was really fun for me.
You touched on a point there about like dealing with the new tech and everything. So like what I did for Area 18, I specifically worked on the planet along with Pascal, and I think I did some material work for Area 18. But the taking the organic planet, and I've spoken about this a lot in like previous segments and things, but taking that organic planet tech and making that work for assets that are sometimes kilometers in size, sometimes hundreds of meters in height. And you know, something that Boy said before as well, like how do you take a city, a flat city, and you put it on a curved planet, especially since our planets are a sixth scale or something like that, right? I don't know what the scale of our planets are, but you know, you gotta. There's so much work that you gotta do to figure that out. But it was.
I remember having so many conversations with you pulling your hair out, going, "How the hell do I just do this?"
Yeah, it's like, hey Josh, meet me down at the pub after work. I gotta cry a little bit. But honestly, it was a lot of fun. I think me and Pascal had a lot of fun doing that. And there's so much that I'd go back and change about how we did this the city. I think one thing specific is just just the mesh quality really for the planet city meshes. I think there's a lot that I can do to bring a lot of diversity to that now, while still like really keeping within the same performance. One really fun thing we did back then, like basically the way our procedural planet tech worked then is that you take these meshes and you spawn them like procedurally on a splat map. So basically a map that says on the red area, you're going to put in these meshes. On the green area, you're going to put in these meshes. And then it puts it in at different scales, rotations, etc. Right? And I think one thing that I thought was really fun to do, because it felt like the planet was really still. You know, I really like adding movement to our locations. Like my favorite thing is to add movement to the locations. So I hope I don't get too technical here, so I'm going to try to make it easy. I got a texture that was panning of these little cars and little glowing cars, right? And I got a poly strip and some strips of polygons that just went left, right, forward, and I spawned that across the entire planet just to have a feel for it. And then you look back on it, and suddenly there's all these little these little pinprick movements on the overall frame, and it just made it feel like so much more alive, right? And I think now with all the improvements in the tech and shaders and material work we've done, had we the chance to do that place all over again, it's one of the things that I could really, really, really improve, I think. Another thing, not that I want to take up the entire time here, but I feel like because we went in a much more modern sort of vibe with this ArcCorp than it was before, right? It was a bit more cyberpunky in feel before, whereas now, the architecture is a little bit more contemporary. It feels a little bit more like a downtown sort of LA than it does a sort of more 90s grungy city where everything is, all kinds of different like locations. But it was our first time doing large scale panels, large scale windows, large scale this, large scale that. And if you look at the quality of a building in ArcCorp and you look at the quality of building in New Babbage and maybe Orison, it's leaps and bounds. The material work, the mesh work, it's leaps and bounds. We've really managed to take everything that we learned there every time and just improve on it to a point where I'm like, man, had I the chance, I could do so much more with ArcCorp. But yeah, that's.
I think I could jump in here because you touched on some things. But my involvement was lead environment artist, so that's kind of overseeing the landing zone from an art point of view, managing the team, giving them feedback, looking at schedules and things like that, boring stuff. I also did some actual artwork by looking at the composition of the cityscape as a whole. But in terms of like what I was just saying, it's really, we had a lot of news with ArcCorp. Again, Noan and Pascal really pushed the procedural planet tech to its limits at the time, because it's made for organic terrain to spawn lots of trees on. It's not made for a planet to spawn lots of buildings on.
Adam's Lantern, thank you for the follow. We appreciate that. You're getting us there, almost at 800 tonight. 3 more people tonight.
And
We'll be at
also just
800.
in terms of like just the budgets, like obviously we know like an end frame budget in terms of draw calls and poly counts, but in terms of like how you distribute that between buildings, it was completely unknown. So it's like how you've got a landing zone itself with like the kind of the hero buildings that you're walking around, and then you've got some buildings that you can fly around, and maybe they don't need to be such high detail, and then there's buildings lower to the ground and the small kind of scattered ones by the procedural system. But in terms of trying to balance that all out, it's very much a new process. So just kind of it was a bit of trial and error really, and finding what we could push, what could work, and knowing that it's not just a city, it's a planet city. It's like it's a city that doesn't end. Whereas something like New Babbage is a city that does end, you know, eventually. It's a big city, but it eventually ends. And so you kind of, okay, let's do 8,000 buildings or something, or 1,000 buildings of 8,000 polys or something or more. And that's kind of more quantifiable. With ArtCorp's like, well, I guess we just got to see how many buildings we can put on, how many polys we can push, and all that kind of thing. So it was very tricky then, and trying to figure out that point of view. So, but yeah, we did learn a lot from Lawville going to Area 18, such as don't have the spaceport like in the city, which is what we did with Lawville. We kind of they're still quite close, but they're kind of pushed away, and that helped with a lot of different things. And I think
close in the Star Citizen terms, right? Because it's still pretty far. Many kilometers.
Well, I mean, airports usually are not in a city, right? They're usually like on the outskirts of a city, generally. So it's a good reason for that, right? You don't know planes flying around skyscrapers. But anyway, the other thing that Andreas touched on was the whole track and flying shuttle aspect, and I think it was actually a really good decision not to have trains like not every landing zone is a train track. Like some are flying, some are trains, and I think there was an expectation that every landing zone would just be trains at some point, but we decided collectively like no, let's mix it up a bit with ArtCorp and let's have a flying shuttle, and that allowed us to fly in between the buildings with the kind of bus. Which I actually really enjoyed. Like that's one of my favorite bits of Area 18 is actually being able to go through the city and actually past the landing zone. You know, having that it still gets me whenever I walk on the bridge and the bus is like going past you. It's still such a great moment for me.
It is still one of my favorite landing zones, actually.
Yeah. So we've only got about 10 minutes left in the show. We haven't even touched New Babbage yet. Are you guys willing to do a little extra credit, a little 5-10 minutes after our limit?
I mean, sure.
Because we do want to get into some of these backer questions. The issues with the backer questions this week, ladies and gentlemen, is that this is the landing zone content team, and the overwhelming majority of your questions were feature related, not content related. So we chose to take this time and do a little review of the work of the past and whatnot. But we do have quite a few questions that we think we can answer here. Before we get to those, let's hit New Babbage real quick. We've now gone from asteroids to desert dirt to city, and now we're going to snow. And our biggest and baddest landing zone to date. Where did we start with New Babbage? What did we set out to do with New Babbage to separate it from every other landing zone that we did so far?
Well, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you could position to answer that, Josh. Sorry, I was trying to like segue into you, but never mind. That was awkward. Go for it, Josh.
No, I mean it's literally that, right? It's a cold location, so like the biggest thing that you immediately notice towards any of the other locations is it has a lot more of an environmental impact than any others. This was actually my first environment on the Star Citizen team coming back from Squadron, so it was actually a really fun task to get back and play around with some of the planet tech and how that works. So one of my main tasks was looking at how the city kind of goes and connects to the planet and its biome being snow. So figuring out like how snow is going to build up on buildings, how does like snow drifts kind of like gather in certain places. So we did pretty early on a little visual target where we took a section of, I think it was a small section of Grey Box City at that point that we were working with, and we did a little bit of a dressing pass to kind of figure out where everything would go, and then took the snowy planet and just started noodling on it, trying to figure out what we needed to do with shaders, what we needed to do with placed assets like snowdrift. So we ended up going in with some individual, like a small kit of very scalable assets, which were basically snow mounds, where we could put them up against assets and spread them around to kind of create this nice blend between a lot of the buildings. So like you can kind of see if we had a tower structure or something, we could have a small buildup of snow in front of it, and then a countersink, and then another mound on the opposite side to kind of hint at maybe a storm that had come through and like the wind, right? And then at the same time, because visibility can be quite low when you're dealing with snow and especially snowstorms, it's very ironic that an Australian is working on this particular thing where there's next to no snow in Australia. But we were looking at adding like more lights to the structures for this. Like Area 18 has a lot of lights because it's a city planet, of course, but we wanted to add more lights down low where the players can walk. So in this same visual target, we looked at things where we would be shooting lights up the sides of buildings, adding them on smaller structures to kind of bring the scale back, but also so you can navigate it through nighttime or even in a blizzard and kind of see your way through the entire thing. So that was really interesting. And then like in the same breath, we went and explored a lot more of bringing the city out into the surrounding environment. So we have like the main landing area of the first person spaces where you go do your shopping and whatnot, but the city as a whole is quite spread out. I'm not sure how it compares to Lawville. Nick, you could probably tell more about that, but it's I really wanted to look at focus more on the technology and kind of research side of things. So I had actually quite a lot of fun bringing out a lot of those outposts that we see around the surrounding valley, bringing them and kind of figuring out what they could be and dressing them up really nicely and integrating them into the surrounding mountainscape and dressing them with all the snow piles and stuff. So that was really fun, and probably is one of the biggest things that sets it apart from all of our other landing zones, I would say.
From a design point of view as well, it is inside a dome, which does create a few, not issues, but it just makes navigation, for example, and orientation inside a space like that thing you have to be quite aware of, right? We also try to improve a lot on the accessibility into the location to add more like side entrances and just get this feeling that you can get in and out in a lot of different places and not just via the spaceport, for example. So it was a lot about navigation and kind of orientation of the player in that location.
Cool. I think the navigation has been the most successful in the landing zone in terms of getting you around, and the signage is quite clear. In Norville, it's a little bit.
It helps that it's a very clean location as well.
Yeah, it's very clean. I've definitely seen people online say it's like the easiest to navigate around, like in terms of flying and walking and knowing where to go to. It's very clean and clear and straightforward and well signposted and that kind of thing, which is pretty successful. Yeah.
All right. So last question, then we'll get into the backer stuff here. What's been your favorite aspect of each landing zone to date so far?
And someone can choose one.
I have one, and it's probably surprising coming from an artist. Like you probably think like it's going to be art related, but I think it's actually for me the sound design. And I think that sound makes up like a big chunk of the experience, right? And we look at the art a lot, so we get used to the art, and it's super refreshing when the sound designer submits this stuff, and we just get this. You go in the editor, and it's like a whole new place when the sound kicks in. It's really awesome always to hear and to
It's
experience
often
it.
one of the last things to come into the landing zone as well. Like when we've done all the art and well, most of the art anyway, and we don't hear much of the sound. So we've got to composite the music, and it's often comes in quite near the end of production in the landing zone. So it is really nice to like boot the game up and go, there's some like either music or actually like sound around the, and it's got a specific word, sound like it's part of the location and stuff that comes through. It's really nice. I think Area 18 is quite successful in that, and New Babbage.
Yeah, I was about to say that's Area 18 is like my favorite for that, and I think for that exact reason too. Like the mood and vibe that you get in Area 18 to me is just like there's a lot of other games out there that do it quite well, but Area 18 is, I don't know, it just kind of it for me it runs that feeling of like it feels, I don't know, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
But I can second that. Actually, it's like the whole mood and all the neon signs and the city vibe you have around. And I think Area 18 also has like a lot of potential for the further expansions. It's like with all the rooftops we have and all the things we can potentially do more with, like the city. Like it's there, and I think it's the probably most easiest, or like the locations I would like to do more stuff on. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like the ambience of Area 18 is by far one of my favorite aspects. Right, it's just this sensory overload when you walk around. All the music, you walk around in the city, and after a while, you kind of get used to it. All the ads playing in your face and everything, and then you can kind of do your stuff, and then you leave the city, and go like, "Wow, it's really quiet now." You know, it's quite successful, I would say. Yeah.
I remember
and
the
flying
word
buses, right?
diegetic. I think. Sorry, I remember the word diegetic is when the soundscape is coming from the environment. For me, I think New Babbage is my favorite landing zone. Partly because it feels like the most realistic landing zone in terms of it feels very grounded as a city. It feels like a realistic city. I know it's all sci-fi and everything, but kind of the way it's structured, the transit route, the like talking about the navigation again, kind of going around the domes, as well as like flying around the actual city, it feels the most kind of grounded in reality, which I've really enjoyed. And I just love snow as well, so I like seeing all the snowy dusting over the whole city. I think was really nice.
I'm gonna cheap out and agree with Boy, but I used to I used to have a career in audio before I did this. So I think audio is one of the things that's the most important to me in almost any piece of anything. And it drives the emotion, it drives the feeling, and there's a particular moment that I find quite memorable about my during my time here, and that's was my second CitizenCon that I was actually on location, which is when we showed off New Babbage, and there was something so incredibly special about the Carrack coming in, and the music just hit all of the right notes, and you see the landscape of New Babbage, and you hear the wind, and you hear the thrusters of the Carrack firing, and the music is just swelling up, and that in an auditorium probably amplified the feel of it, sure, but it, to me, just that music and the audio is such an integral part of the experience. Like it's sad that we see it so late. It's totally understandable why we see it so late, but we often just put on our own music that inspires the sort of feel of the location, and sometimes we send that to the audio team to send to Pedro for the for some inspiration, but yeah,
So
like
many playlists.
so many playlists. But yeah, that's it for me.
All right.
The amount of times I've listened to the Blade Runner soundtrack while working on this game is insane. Like many times.
Actually, one of my favorite things is when people are presenting to CR in like the Tuesday or the Thursday meeting, and they've put a track under their presentation, and CR's like, what music is this? Whenever we get sidetracked by talking about the music, mood tracks are very important in what we do. All right, so we're
Mad style, as always. Thank you again for another 500 bits. We're going to stop here because they're going to take viewer questions after this, but I do want to wake up all of our people who are in the room with us. Kimmy and I are still awake, and I want to make sure Fist and Lucky and Admiral Kusanagi are okay. Let me start with Lucky this time around. Lucky, of all of the landing zones that they mentioned, and of course, we know that Horizon or Orison, whichever one you prefer to call it, which one's going to be the one that you feel you'll base out of in Stanton? Of which one and why? Why do you like that particular landing zone?
Oh, let's see. I don't know. I tend to visit all of them, just basically based off of what I'm doing currently. If it's mining, I go to a specific one. If I'm cargo trading, go to a specific one.
Okay.
Bounty hunting, etc. But simply, I think Lorville is my favorite, just based off of because the industrial organization that we're in, it just has that feel, I mean, I do like going to ArtCorp and Babbage, and I'm sure I'll enjoy going to Orison when it comes out, but yeah, I like Lorville, I believe the best.
Okay, very cool, very cool.
Interesting.
All right, Fist, how about you? Which one do you feel that you'll be basing out of? Which landing zone?
I'm gonna be honest with you guys here. Hopefully, I can be. But anyway, but I was had to say Lorville because I want to see how this Lorville bathroom is gonna look. Because oh my goodness, I can imagine.
You said the bathroom, Fist?
Yes, because when they talked about the bathrooms and all of that stuff, I mean, Imposter was just like when we first watched it, we were like, oh my god, because you can see all of the buffoonery getting ready to happen in there. And it would be nice to kind of see what they do, because Lorville, I'm not gonna let it's kind of scummy, it's grimy, you know. I want to see what kind of bathroom are they gonna make it like, that Newark Penn Station kind of, where you go in there, you like, whoa, wait a minute, this is a horror flick. Okay, let me get out of here.
Oh my god,
exactly. But yeah, that's
how before Loot Fist. You got me.
Okay.
That's what we thought. We was like,
I did not suspect that, but you know what? Oh my god! Now that you bring that up, and it's Lorville. Oh my god!
And there's a reason why people are wearing bags on their head, is what you're trying to say. Okay, gosh. All right, we'll see. Admiral, what about you? Where are you looking to base out of?
Well, first off, is that the only thing that they're covering with bags? Is my question. Maybe things you can't see.
Oh man!
But let's just say my planet is going to be. I think I'm going to stick with Hoth. Because it's the stock market on one side, and then I go to the club, and then I go get a smoothie.
Okay.
And the bathrooms are clean. I get up on the exercise machine when I'm talking to people.
Okay.
On my rewatch thing.
All right. So you like Apple headquarters, basically. That's where you want to be. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I can put on my gold-plated diapers, and I'll be all set to go.
Okay. Kimmy, how about you? Which one are you thinking about basing out of if you had to pick a landing zone?
I would have to pair up with Admiral, just for the sheer fact that the landscape, the snowy cap landscape, and you get some of the storms sometimes to see that variance, and just the whole style of that landing zone and how it's kind of developed.
Okay.
It has a clean feel to it, and it's it feels right for me, and so yeah, that would be my spot. Just to see the, coming in with your ship, and you see the vistas of the snow, and it looks great. It feels good, coming in for a landing.
Okay, that's very cool. Very cool. Me myself, ArtCorp. ArcCorp is my home because I plan on marrying Tessia. What's her name? Tessia Pacheco. That's pretty soon.
Oh.
We'll be living together pretty soon. So that's my thing there. No, actually, I like that because it reminds me very much of Blade Runner. That whole dynamic is really something that I grew up on. I really like the atmosphere of it, and I remember they had the one piece of lore about that one tall high rise that's in the center that's really cute. And I agree. I am looking forward to the day when they allow us to hopefully be able to rent out those apartments and be in certain buildings and all that stuff. That will be so cool to be able to land on top of one of the buildings and go downstairs and you're in your place. But I know that's down the road, but definitely looking forward to it. Definitely
so
looking
Griff,
forward to it.
one thing, you know, for like Microtech, right? Microtech, I'm saying Hoth. It's confusing me a little bit. You know, I got like when the camo, the white camo comes out for the ships. I got the really nice one. I can't remember what ship it is. It's a really good camo job. There's a couple of camo jobs they say is white, and I'm like, that's not even like white. But you use that, and I got the electro, so I can swap midair the paint job on my ship, so I can go from black into space and then come down onto like micro tech
Go to
and
the
then
white.
go white, and
That would be very cool. That would be cool. Haddis74, thank you for the follow. Wow, we're 2 people away from 800. If you're not following us, guys, please, if you like what you're hearing, follow us. We want to get to 1,000 by March 7th, which is our anniversary, our 1-year anniversary. But we're almost at 800 tonight. So if you're not following, 2 more people and we'll be there. Well, let me use that as a segue because we're talking about these different landing zones and where we're going to be able to live and put all our ships and everything. We're going to jump into our machinima for the night. You guys know we always do some type of machinima, or we show some type of video. I stumbled across one that was done by Shaozen. Now, I know that Kimmy, I already know there are going to be some people who say that because I'm an Origin guy, I picked this particular video. Okay, but I didn't pick it necessarily because of that, even though that it does have a little bit of that. But I did pick it because of the subject that we're going to be talking about this Sunday on the show. Our show this Sunday, the theme of it is called A River Runs Through It. And we're going to be talking about what is the impact of water in this game. You know, we just talked about Microtech, and we know that we saw a little while ago, they showed us on ISC, the water tech that they've been working on. They've been talking about buoyancy. But the question becomes, where is this all going to lead to? What is this going to really do to benefit the game? And so that's going to be our big discussion on this Sunday. So the video I picked today kind of lends toward what if this was possible? So I hope you guys enjoy this, and let's take a look.
Exciting and new.
Captain Soothing.
We're expecting you.
And I ain't no damn Isaac.
Just I think that's 890 you should have been partying with last night.
Agreed.
Hello, Fifth Element. Ooh.
It's an open smile on a friendly shore. It's love. It's love. Yeah, love.
Somebody get the fire extinguisher. We'll hurry.
Are you?
I'm muted.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Coffee. I know about the DMCA. I know we can make it bump for it, but I just want to have a little fun with that. Just because of what are the possibilities when we start talking about water. Sure, it's nice to talk about like the 890 being a yacht, but I think we all know that this could grow into something much, much bigger than that. Shaozen from Yacht Club put that video together. Shout out to him. Shaozen's a really cool guy. Just happened to stumble across that video and thought, yeah, this will be a nice little intro to our discussion on Sunday.
That's an old rumor, though.
Yeah, but even if they don't do the 890, the subject is they have talked about ships that will be able to do things in water. I know, Kimmy, you've talked about what happens when creatures get implemented and a whole bunch of other stuff, in relation to water. So we want to talk about that on Sunday. So if you guys want to join us on Sunday, we're going to have a really good discussion about that. And maybe CIG will be listening. Every once in a while, Xylo drops in on us on Sunday. Maybe they'll be listening and hear some ideas that you guys might have. Gigi says no creatures. But
Gigi, you're gonna be stuck in the hangar, girl. You're gonna have to come out with us and hang out.
Yeah.
You can't stay in your hangar.
Yep.
Well, something you should bring up on Sunday then is, we get the Pico, and we all know that the Pico doll will go down using his snowboard down snow. So will we get snowboards or skis, and then can you hold by a ship in water on ski?
Ooh,
yeah,
that's a good question, and it'd be really cool to see. I would love them to actually bring Pico to life in game. That would be so awesome if we get them in the game.
They need it in Microtech.
Yeah,
because we know we're getting the Yetis.
If they can make a giant duck float, they can make an 890 float.
Right? Danny DeVito, we need you.
Yep, absolutely. So anyways, even though that was kind of a fun video, it was just something I wanted to show today again to introduce that subject on Sunday. So we're going to wrap it up because we are running over a little bit tonight and it's late. It's been a long week for everybody. But we do want to give shouts out. Mad Style always, he had to duck out. He passed out. I'm sure he said he was tired. But he did hit us with another 500 bits before he ducked out. I want to thank Admiral Kusanagi. I want to thank Fistaface. I want to thank Mobab. I want to thank Lucky for the first time hanging out with us.
In the background.
Pops, yes, Pops. Pops is always in the background.
Hey, Pops.
Pops is always in the background. Thank you guys for contributing tonight and adding to the conversation because it took a lot of pressure off Kimmy and I. Because again, the show is supposed to be where we hear from the community. We're just here to kind of facilitate. But we love hearing from you guys, and for those of you guys who've been supporting us, we're at 799 followers. Headsy brought us at 799. We're one short, but we know that probably anybody who's here, anybody who's here probably already is.
We head out tonight.
They're probably all already followers. I think these are regulars.
I'll give you some breaking news, chat. For one follow, I'll give you some good, pertinent breaking news, and you're gonna be like, wow,
some juicy news. Kimmy says if we get one more, I think everybody here is a follower, but we're gonna see.
I'm gonna tell you what it is anyway.
Okay, go ahead.
A follow's gonna drop.
Okay, fill them in. All right.
2 of the members have been recruited. 2 developers from the Arkham Origins team. They are in Montreal. Mm-hmm. They are now part of the Montreal, Canada Planetary Tech team.
Nice.
I'm not going to say any names, but they have 2 members been recruited from that development company. They're with the Montreal, Canada CIG Planetary Tech team. So
very cool.
It's moving, y'all. So there you go. Breaking news, man.
Very cool. Very cool. And Fast Cart reminded us, because I forgot to mention this earlier. Thank you, Fast Cart. That's why it's always good to have him around. Congratulations to CIG. We crossed the 3 million mark for citizens today. So I think,
wow,
I had the number up here earlier. It was 2039. Let's see if it's changed. It has. It's gone up. It's now 3,002,473 folks. So we crossed the 3 million mark. So there you go.
You see that number, Griff?
Mm-hmm.
And what we just listened to with the landing zone tech team.
Mm-hmm.
We heard all the stuff about, the process and everything, the features and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the real talk. Man, look, by the end of the year, these player counts are going to come up. These guys got to get everything in gear to be able to accommodate this scaled up volume of people that's going to drop into these landing zones, these areas. So right now, they're talking a good talk right now, but behind the scenes, they're figuring out, okay, how do we expand these landing zones to accommodate more players now? We're going to get the server meshing tech. Now you're talking about potentially thousands of players in an instant, and they're standing around shoulder to shoulder. That can't happen.
Well, I don't know, Kimmy.
Expand.
I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think that you made an assumption there that a lot of people make, and it's the fact that people think they're going to be 1,000 people with 1,000 ships. I don't think that's going to be the case, because I think what a lot of people are going to find out is everybody ain't going to be flying ships. There's going to be a big percentage of people who are going to be riding with other people. They're going to be maybe, let's say if it's 1,000 people on the server, I would say 30 to 40% of those people might be flying with other people. You know what I'm saying?
No, not ships. I wasn't talking about ships. I'm just talking about population.
Oh yeah. Well, the landing
the
zones,
habs, the discotheques. Walking around our court.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah. No, I agree. But I would say this to your point. I think that you mentioned this in a previous one. I think that's one of the reasons why you said that they have to get Pyro and Nyx going, because once we expand those other systems, that will give us the footprint to do it. Because you're right.
Yes.
With Stanton alone, you're absolutely right. It would be kind of claustrophobic. Kind of claustrophobic.
I think when they have the next event in, they'll probably bring the servers back down to 40. Because I can't imagine that if there were 50 people or 50 plus in there, that it would have actually worked.
Yeah, because it was a struggle.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a struggle. It was definitely a struggle.
But keep in mind, they have the 52-week roadmap to get server meshing in. And I'm saying that's their leeway to really get this thing going, because once they're done with that, they're going to start iterations of expanding out the number of players on these server meshes.
Yep. Scuba Steve, thank you for that. We saw you do that host for us with those 3, and we are at 799 followers. We're one short of 800, but I think everybody who's here is probably already a followers, and we do appreciate you guys following us. So just spread the word for us. Don't forget, March 7th is our anniversary, and we are going to be doing our big giveaway if we hit 1,000. If it's not 1,000, we're still going to do a semi-big giveaways. We're going to do quite a few big giveaways, so it'll be a fun.
You said
fun
an
day.
Endeavor, Griff?
Yeah, an Endeavor or a Banu Merchantman, or it could be a C2. I don't know. It just depends. It'll be something decent, whatever it is that we give away that day. So
that's pretty nice.
So we'll have some fun with it. But
the default Endeavor, not with all the modules.
Yes,
right?
yes, just the base, just the base,
just the base. Still, that's awesome.
Absolutely, just the base. All right, so let's see who we are going to harass tonight with a raid.
Thank you all.
Yes, as always.
Thanks for the guys to come in the chat and give some knowledge on this game and the reason why they're so passionate about it. Very good insight on the game and what you're looking for to have a good gaming experience. We appreciate that feedback, guys. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Appreciate being here, guys.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to join us Sunday. We're going to be doing The River Runs Through It, talk about water buoyancy and the impact of the economy, all the good stuff. We're going to raid Viridi tonight, so you guys say hello to her. She is in the game right now, having fun. And we appreciate you guys. And as always, love, peace, soul, and thanks, Kimmy, for everything tonight. And we'll see you guys real soon. Take it easy.
Always a pleasure, Griff. Thank you. Chat, love you all.